Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first episode in quite a few weeks of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, MrBooMStickXL, and I want to thank everyone for stopping by and hanging out. E3 2019 is now behind us, and now it's time to talk about what's happening for the rest of the year, starting with, a lot of stuff breaking in the news. But before we get into the topics, I have to introduce this rock star panel. One of the most worrying aspects of having to put these shows together is finding guests each and every week. Thankfully, today's panel are all podcast professionals, and of course, I'm super stoked to introduce them. So, first up, he is the hardest man working on YouTube. His gaming knowledge is second to none. He's known on these Twitter streets as a bona fide troll crusher. He's an 80s super fan. He's also a Star Wars bounty hunter who is the leader of the Sesh Empire. Please welcome Shady.
Thank you, Boom. It's good to be here. I'm a little under the weather. I'll do my best to keep my energy levels up, but I'm happy to be here, man. We got some awesome topics. Let's get into them.
Well, listen, it's always great to have you, and I appreciate that you're here, even when you're not feeling well. That is big. That's important to the fan base, and of course to me. And I appreciate you, trying to work through it. Next, we have someone who proudly admits he will not play Resident Evil anything, Silent Hill, or Outlast if his life depended on it. He's a huge Xbox fan, friend to all, creator of his amazing YouTube channel called Zemi Games, a man whose backlog is so big he's personally lost count on how many games he needs to play. Please welcome Dictator Zemi.
I love that intro, Boom. Thank you so much, man. Super excited to start getting into the show, and so thank you so much for that great intro, man. That was fantastic.
Oh yeah, I love writing them. It's always fun.
You put a lot of time into that one.
It's always great for me when people enjoy the openings. So thank you so much for that, and thanks for being here as always. Next up, he's my personal inside source to all GameStop scoops. Proud father, Nintendo Switch superfan. He's recently been outed that he's Pikachu's father, which he showed in a video. A man who has his own convictions and opinions that he holds to the highest standards. And he's one of the biggest wheels that keep the Basement Radio Arcade podcast rolling each and every week. Please welcome Gaming Forte, aka Destiny Forte.
Man, really appreciate it, Boom. You always step it up every time I'm on here, man. I really always appreciate that. And the only thing that's better than being on Breakfast with Boom is today being the first day of summer officially in the United States of America. So let's hope the weather stays the way we want it to stay.
Yeah, as long as we don't get 100-degree days here in New York, I'm okay.
I'm good with 7. I'm good with 75 to 85 every day.
Yeah, that's fine as long as it's not humid. But of course, it's New York, so we have to get what we get. But last and in no way least, he's a gamer who some call controversial. He's a very no-nonsense opinions on gaming, where he says publicly on Twitter what he says in his mind. He writes down in text. He's an Xbox diehard gamer through and through, founder of the BG4G Hub. His excellent YouTube channel promises gaming news and info with some laughter and banter thrown in for the amazing price of free. Please welcome the elite gaming guru.
Thank you for having me again, Boom. I love your show. You're just a fantastic man. I do hold some stuff back on Twitter, but it's just getting to it. So I'm just really excited about doing anything with you, mate. And you're just
I appreciate having you on, dude. I know you hit me up late in the week, and of course, whenever you're available, I enjoy having you on because you are a diehard gamer. You do have good opinions, and sometimes you ruffle people's feathers, but you know what? That's life. People have to learn to not tune into people that that they like or they don't like. But you know what? Thanks to Shady's very fine wondering eye, he found a story on Gears 5, which we're going to open up with. Now, I guess, again, this is a multi-plat show, so we're going to talk some Sony stuff, some Nintendo stuff, and of course, we're going to talk Xbox because those are the three brands that we all love and play. And, Gears 5 made a lot of news. Obviously, at E3, depending on who you spoke to. Some people like myself were slightly disappointed that we didn't see gameplay, but you know what? Like gameplay, when I say that, I'm talking about story. I'm talking about the single player campaign. But we did get a ton of gameplay, which of course I have up on the channel, which I got a chance to see personally, up close and personal. And we're talking about the escape mode, which is a new mode for Gears. Looked awesome, played awesome. But you know what? Gears itself is making some news because, you know, if you look back to a couple of years ago when loot boxes were first coming out, right? And we know what happened with that story, right? And for good reason. The gamers stood up and they said we weren't going to take it, and all these companies backed off. One of the biggest things that, you know, is people consider to be a crime within gaming is microtransactions, where if they're in your face, some people consider them gross, and I would agree with that. But Gears 5 is making some news today, more specifically, because they dropped some information about Gears 5 that I think everyone's going to want to talk about. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And this is what they had to say in the statement. Earning content in Gears is something we know many of you care deeply about. You've asked and we've listened. In Gears 5, our goal is to create a player-first experience when it comes to in-game content, and it starts with this. No season pass, no gear packs. DLC maps are free for matchmaking and private play. Exclusive, earnable content, all in game through their new Tour of Duty system. All store purchases are direct, no RNG, so you always know what you're getting. We have many exciting new features for Gears 5 coming up that we're going to be talking about in full detail very soon, and I believe that's going to be coming in July. So because Shady found this, I want to go to you first. How important do you think it is for Rod Ferguson and that team to get out in front and say, okay, folks, you've complained about it, we've never done it, and we're not going to start doing it. This is how we're going to open up the game. All of the stuff is free if you buy the game. How does that make you feel as a player, and how do you think that other players are going to feel about that?
I think it's awesome news. Like, I think Gears 4 was like a half step in this direction. All the DLC maps were free as long as you were playing in the official servers. And if it randomly popped up for you, you got to play that. But you weren't able to play any of those DLC maps on a private server with your buddies, or load up a DLC map if you wanted privately to play a certain horde map if you didn't own them. So it was a half step, whereas this is the full measure. All DLC maps are free for everybody, whether you're playing a ranked match or a private match, or you want to choose one of those DLC matches to play privately with your buddies in horde mode. You can do that now, and they're not charging for that. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I was also not a fan of the loot boxes that they had in the last game either. I never bought any of them with real world money, but the grind was real.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Credits,
sure.
right? Like,
yeah.
It took a long time to get those in-game credits. And I mean, as the loot box routine is all too often, you don't get what you're looking for. You have to buy so many of them to finally get that one skin you were hoping to get. So I'm glad that they're done with that as well. And you'll be able to earn everything in game through their what was it called? Not Call of Duty, because that sounds ridiculous. It's something close.
Yeah, no, it actually
Tour
sounds
of Duty,
Tour of
wasn't
Duty,
it?
yes.
Yeah, the Tour of Duty system. So if you can earn everything in game, that's really great. And then for those people that have, you know, money to burn, or they just don't want to grind, they want it right now, it's on the store, labeled as what it is. If you want it for the price they're offering it, you get it. I think that's a much better model than this randomized loot system that has been popularized in games, recently. I don't think it's necessarily gambling per se. A lot of people do. It's just messy. Don't make it randomized. Let people know what they're getting. I think they're more likely to have success that way, and the government won't get involved either. So this is a good move. I mean, just for Gears of War alone, the public perception is great. When they're giving all this stuff away, everything in game can be earned. If you want to buy some stuff, it's clear what you're getting. It's nice to know exactly what this is going to be all about For me, it's great because I like to play horde mode a lot with my buddies, and being able to choose them in a private match when they're DLC maps, because the DLC maps are always awesome because they want you to maybe buy them, but this time they're not for sale. So I'm hoping they're still awesome. They usually are. And now I get to play them with my buddies on demand as opposed to waiting for the hopper to feed them to me. So this is great news.
Yeah, you know, it's a big deal. And because the game comes out in what, 3 months, right? You know, we're just coming to the end of June, so July, August, and September 10th. Here we go, right? So we're talking, maybe 2.5 months away to get out in front this early to let the fan base know that, hey, this is what's happening. And if you're if what I like about this new information is, but besides hearing about the Ultimate Edition being in the Ultimate Edition of Game Pass, which I already downloaded, so if you are a Gears fan, go if you have Ultimate Game Pass, go to the store, click on the Ultimate package, which I think is $89 or almost $100, and it's like it'll say install, and there you go. So you have you have the Ultimate edition of this in Game Pass, and now you're getting this information. This is great PR.
It is.
And it comes at a good
like you said,
time.
Boom, you brought up how you were, and many people, let's be honest, were disappointed on the lack of campaign gameplay footage at E3. And like you said, it's 2.5 months out. We have the Gears of War multiplayer beta, so we actually get our hands on this sucker coming up on July 17th. And then on August 19th is the Horde beta.
Yes, correct.
Where we're going to be able to fight the AI, see the types of enemies, and like, let's not kid ourselves, the graphics look the same. Like when you're playing Horde, it's going to be like what the campaign is. You're not playing on those maps, but the enemies are going to look like that. Your gears are going to look the same, the weapons and stuff. So you're getting a wicked taste, hands-on. Plus, we do have Gamescom coming up as well, which they can show more. And I alluded to in another show that they could show that gameplay footage the day before release. And if it's hot, everyone's going to buy it anyways. Like, we don't, as much as we'd like to see it today, I don't think there's a big rush. There's a lot of stuff coming for Gears, which will keep it relevant in the news cycle, which is kind of what advertising is supposed to do, I think. So I like that.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I like how everything is coming together. The one thing about Microsoft, if you noticed, what they do is they start doing things where some people, including myself, have questioned it doesn't make sense, and they're kind of like just they're laying it down, right? They're planting the seeds for whatever they eventually come to, and then once it comes to fruition, and you look back and you say, "Holy shit! I didn't even realize that that's what they were doing, and now it makes sense." And I think that they're doing that with Gears. Obviously they got ahead of this very early. Very early this year. Gears is going to be the biggest Gears, and it's going to be a little different. And we're confident that people are going to dig it. And they're kind of just planting the seeds to let people know that this is going to be your Gears, but it's also going to be a Gears for new fans. And some and as well as the older generation will start to say, wait a second, this new bigger Gears is something I always wanted. I just didn't know it.
And I want to take a second to shout out Stubbs Gaming. He's actually in the chat. It was him that shared that with me in another DM that I'm in. So that was actually where I saw it. So
right, good. Yeah,
Stubbs Gaming for actually letting me see the info too. Otherwise, I would have missed it.
Oh, well, listen, thanks a lot, Stubbs. We appreciate that very much. You know what, Elite Gaming Guru, I want to get to you on this one. You're a steady Xbox dude. We all know that. Obviously Gears is a big pillar for that company. In your opinion, do you think that it was smart for them to get out in front and say, okay, everything is no season pass, no gear packs, free DLC, rah. You're gonna get information in July. You're gonna get information in August. Game comes out September. Go crazy.
Yeah, I think it's great they're doing that. It's good for everyone, gamers especially, because I think this is what needs to going forward. This is what people want. You're paying £60 for a game, and you want the game in its entirety, I think. And you want to know what you're gonna get from the game. So I've got a cold, I've got a blocked nose, and I've got blocked ears. So you want the game in its entirety, and I think this is exactly the way forward for gaming. It's sort of like what they do with Sea of Thieves, where they're just dropping you DLC, what's coming next. They're just giving you a game plan, everything they do. And I hope they do this with all their games. I want to see it with Forza and other games as well in the future from Microsoft. Just free DLC and the free game plan for all their games. But as for Gears, yes, it's brilliant. I think it will just boost the morale of the game, because it seems to be under a lot of fire at the moment for some reason, and just the general popularity of the game, especially as it's going to be day one on PC as well. So yeah, it's brilliant news. I've never been a really big Gears fan, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay.
I sort of played through 1, 2, and 3. I've not played 4 yet, and I'm still going through it now because Gears 5 has really sparked my interest. So this Gears 5 alone, just from the trailers and everything I've seen so far, is drawing me into Gears 5. So with this news on top of that, then without a doubt, this might be my first Gears purchase.
Well, listen, I got to tell you, it's always interesting when you hear that people that are, that consider themselves like Xbox gamers that weren't into one type of game. Again, you can't throw everybody under an umbrella, and the fact that I mean, what I enjoy about what Microsoft is doing in a whole is you take a fan like yourself, right? You're specifically an Xbox fan, and Gears has never been your thing, but with Game Pass, every Gears is in there for you. Go crazy. You want to play, because I'm going to play through Gears 4 for like the 8th time before 5 launches, just so I can familiarize myself.
Actually, sorry, I've told a lie really, because I've played Gears 4. I've just never played the campaign.
Okay.
Like a lot of games, I just played the multiplayer. So I've played Horde plenty of times, and I played Horde and all the other games, but I never really played through the campaigns seriously. I sort of rushed through 1, 2, and 3 on the 360, but never played the campaign 4. But yeah, I'm definitely going back into them, and I'm not a big fan of the Halo 1, 2, or 3 either, or the Forza games. So as an Xbox fan, they're not the games that pulled me in. It wasn't them exclusive. So, but yeah, I'm definitely hyped for Gears.
Yeah, I think that this is again, I had a chance to talk with Rod Ferguson at E3, and I'm not sure if I told this story to you guys. I'll say it again. When I got a chance to meet him, I of course shook his hand, got an autograph from him and the team that was there from the coalition. And I said, Rod, you're doing something that I've always wanted. You're making Gears of World open world. And he smirked. And he goes, well, I never said it was open world. I said it's the biggest Gears of War we've ever made. So he did the old wink. So I think what it's going to be is, and I know some people will get upset when I say this, but I think they're going the God of War route, where it's an more open world, but it's not open world. You know what I'm saying? Like Red Dead Redemption. And I think that's great. Give us a bigger area to look through, to investigate.
If you want to trigger the Xbox guys a little less, Boom, maybe be like, it's like a Tomb Raider. It's like a big sandbox with.
Okay, Tomb Raider is
comparing it to God of War. You might get a couple of those Xbox diehards upset, man. I don't know.
I may get some tomatoes thrown at me. Listen, it is. Listen, you have to call a great game a great game. That was a great game, one of my favorites. End of story. But I'm very psyched. But Zemi, I want to get your opinion on this. Because I really don't know what your hype level is for Gears, but when you hear Microsoft planting these seeds, they're giving us some information in the beginning of the year that it's going to be a different, but kind of the same Gears of War. Then we get, in 2017, prior to that, we get that awesome trailer that blew everyone away. And then we get, the escape gameplay during E3. People are playing it. People are loving it. I haven't heard one bad thing from anyone that played it. And now we're getting this new information where it's free. Just buy the game. You're good. As a consumer, not just an Xbox fan, how does that make you feel, dude?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, as far as my hype level for Gears of War 5, I'm actually very, very excited. There's definitely other games that are coming out this year that I think I'm probably more excited to play, but that doesn't take away from me definitely being excited for Gears of War 5, and I really can't wait to get my hands on it. I think it's absolutely amazing that they're taking these steps, and we've seen these steps somewhat kind of be taken by Microsoft previously, but to go all out and say, there's not going to be any loot boxes, all the DLC is going to be free. You're going to be able to play all the new maps, and public lobbies as well as private lobbies is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, and it's just pro consumer all the way. And to also touch on to what Gaming Guru was saying is, I really hope this isn't an isolated event. I really hope that Microsoft going forward with all of their first party exclusives that, land on to Game Pass, I really hope that they allow everyone who has Game Pass or even anyone who's purchased the game to be able to access all DLC and everything that the game offers for no additional cost. I mean, a few microtransactions to get, maybe the specific skin or something is fine, I think. But, I'd really like to see this going forward into like Halo and into a new Fable game where we can get all the DLC. And another thing that I think that this is going to do is it's going to definitely help to unite the community, because, previously when you had to go and buy DLC, your friend might have bought it and you might have not, and then your friend can't play the maps that he just paid $20 for. And so I think it's going to help not divide the community by a paywall, and that's just going to be great. And I think a lot more people are going to stick with Gears of War in the long run and keep playing it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that when you segregate your community because of a paywall, it's never good for a game. And we've seen that happen with Call of Duty. We've seen that happen, unfortunately, in early Halo releases, where if you didn't buy the maps, you weren't playing with your friends, and you were kind of strong-armed into buying them. Now, if you're a fan, it's not really strong-arming, but the fact that everything is going to be free, and it can be played whether it's a private lobby with just your buddies, or you're just going crazy and you're playing with anyone, I think it's important. I do like the idea that there's going to be exclusive earnable content through this new Tour of Duty system. They're adding things to the game, I think, that are going to make that they're going to have the game transcend past its initial release, and I'm very excited for that.
Oh yeah, I think they're starting to realize that while they would make a bit more money selling you these maps, it was only about 10% or less of the population that would ever buys the DLC.
That's correct.
Games. I've been burned way too many times in, like, say, Doom, even Halo, other first-person shooters. When you buy the DLC maps, Battlefield was a big one. If you're not playing these, like, the first week they're out, the DLC maps end up becoming just depopulated, and there's no one playing them anymore.
Yeah,
there's
correct.
already fewer people playing them. So as a paying customer, you're the one who's getting burned. I mean, the other players playing the regular stuff, they have fewer players that they're playing with, arguably. But in general, it's the guys that are putting down the money that end up with no one to play with because not enough people put down the money. So I think these companies have finally gotten enough backlash from paying customers. Like, look, I'm sick of buying maps and there's no one playing. And like, these companies will sell map packs and stuff for a year, 2 years still after the game is out, and no one has them. No one's playing it, but they'll gladly take your money. And I think too many people have gotten burned. They finally gotten the feedback like, look, this is ridiculous. I'm sick and tired of it. I know I am as a customer. So moves like this are absolutely fantastic. I love it. Bravo.
It's funny. I'm glad I brought up this particular subject because Gaming Forte is a huge Destiny fan. I mean, obviously he's AKA Destiny Forte. I mean, obviously that's his go-to game. And as someone who like me, who's played Destiny, who's purchased all of this very expensive DLC, it is like getting clubbed like a baby seal. And the fact that that they've done it time and time again, thanks to the claws or hooks that of Activision, which are no more. In your opinion, do you think that the coalition is doing the right thing by the fan base?
So I think this is an amazing move. We've seen this across a bunch of different games in the past. EA started removing season passes and stuff from their games. Call of Duty's doing it this year. There's going to be no season pass. The thing I like about it the most is I think companies are getting to the point where they're starting to understand, like Shady said, that engagement means more than money sometimes. And especially when these companies want to talk about their engagement numbers more than anything, because the more people that's playing your game keeps the game relevant. It makes people want it makes people want to keep playing the game because there's always a vibrant player pool. I am a huge Gears of War fan. I've never really been into the multiplayer. I played a lot of Horde, and I also like the single player. But seeing that the season pass is going to be no more, knowing that every time you boot up a game, whenever a new map comes out, everybody will have access to that map. The one thing that always happens to people is when they're playing games, you'll have a situation where you're trying to play the new stuff, and like you said, nobody's playing it, or there's not a lot of people playing it. So a month later, it becomes a barren wasteland, and people kind of fall off just because they get tired of playing against the same tryhards all the time. That's the thing. I mean, even in Destiny, that happens. That's why I like the fact that they're, making PvP literally free to everybody going forward in Destiny after September 17th. And this is the same thing, because no one wants to go in and just play the same sweaty people over and over again on new maps and never see the rest of the player base because the 90% didn't buy it. So this just opens it up so more people can enjoy the game. It keeps the player pool saturated. We won't have those situations where Microsoft might have to combine PC and Xbox together again, like they did on Gears 4, because the player pool got so small on PC, they had to infuse the console base into that, which I know a lot of people in console didn't like until they actually changed it so you can, toggle who you want to play against. So these are all really good things. I really am excited for the exclusive earnables. The one thing I really love about Destiny the most is I can go into different activities, and those different activities give me different gear.
Yes.
It kind of showcase your achievements in different parts of the game. And with these exclusive earnables that's going to be in the Tour of Duty system, it's just another activity for you to do in the game to show off your prowess to everybody else.
Yeah.
Like sweet weapon skins and probably different armor skins and stuff like that. Just all types of different things. They can pretty much do whatever they want when it comes to that game mode. And RNG is a bitch. We all know it. Yes. It sucks. And the fact that when you go into the store and you see something you want, you can buy it.
That's the way to do it.
It's the way to do it. It's, I don't know how they're going to do the actual currency system. If it's going to be like earnable in game, is it going to be a way that you just purchase it directly with your own money? But any way they decide to do it, the fact that you can log in, see it, and buy it with whatever currency they give you or you have to buy is an amazing thing. And I, like everybody said, this isn't, I think, going to be an isolated incident, because I think going forward, this is going to be the thing, because Microsoft is making a really big push around their Ultimate games, like you said, and all that stuff being directly in there, because those games were $100 each.
Yes, they certainly were, and I bought them all. I bought every last Ultimate Edition for Forza, Gears of War.
Yes, that it did a 4-day early access. That is another huge thing. So people. It also just doubles down on the thing about engagement. If you want to get into Gears of War early, you get Game Pass Ultimate. That drives engagement around the service. It drives engagement in the game. So basically, it makes the game literally a better thing. And that's what I like the most about this news that they released.
I got to tell you, when you look at what Gears has done so far, right? I'm excited because I'm a Gears fan, but I think people who are not Gears fans are starting to get excited, because just look at what's been drip fed to us. We know we're getting a new Horde. We know that they just talked about Escape. We know that there's PvP, and we know that the Gears single player is going to have co-op, and it's also going to have a bigger, better Gears of War. 4 modes already, and there's still stuff that they haven't talked about. This game is going to be played for years to come. And like I said, them getting in front of this before it's released to say everything is free, and if there's an outfit that you want or a gear set that you want, just go out and buy it, pick it, buy it, and call it a day. I think it is a tremendous deal. This was a great way to open up today's show. Again, everyone had great things to say. Before I get on to the next topic, I have to thank Chaos Theory, a big fan of the show, with the outstanding $2 super chat. He says Gears 5 is going to be fire, free DLC. That is correct, my friend. Thanks for being here. I'm very excited. But you know what? Gears of War 5 is a big title, right? It's one of those big AAA titles. I kind of want to slow down the show for a little bit and talk about some smaller releases that just happened this week, two of which I'm going completely fanboy gaga over. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night just released a couple of days ago. And this has been the long, and I mean long, awaited spiritual successor to the PlayStation 1 the modern day masterpiece, classic, whatever you want to call it, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And I'm going to say this right now. Bloodstained, I have about 9 hours worth of play into it. And as it's so amazing that it's already my game of the year 2019. And that's really saying something, considering when you think about Resident Evil and everything that we've played so far. If you are an old school cat and you like Castlevania, Metrovania type games that have that RPG element to it, this game is for you. It's worth absolutely every penny. Ritual of the Night, if you didn't know, was crowdfunded. I believe I'm correct when I say this, way back. I think it was in 2015. And obviously it suffered numerous delays. And you know what? After playing what I've played, it's absolutely so worth it. Now, obviously, Iragashi, who is the director, obviously he's left Konami years ago, and that's when Castlevania stopped being good. He has a new studio called Artplay, and this is obviously the spiritual successor to Symphony of the Night because it's very similar. It has a very strong RPG element, but it's not overabundance where it just gets in the way. It's an action romp, and if you're looking for that, you're going to get it in spades. Now, obviously, there are no mentions of Belmonts and Draculas that obviously populate Castlevania, but it has everything else you could possibly imagine. And yes, there are vampires. They just don't call it Dracula because, I'm sure they don't want to get sued. But the story is told through voice and text character interaction that lends itself to what we would expect in a high caliber 2D/2.5D RPG. The design is very slick and it's very modern, but it still feels like you're playing a classic Konami Castlevania game, and that is definitely a good thing. Shady, we were talking, pre-game, and I know you said that the original trailer kind of turned you off because it was very anime-ish. And then when I was telling you about the gameplay being really upfront and personal, it kind of might have swayed your opinion on it. Is this something you might want to get into?
It's something I'll certainly give a second look again after hearing your praise for it, man. Like I said, the trailer that I watched, I couldn't even make it halfway through because it was focusing on said story, which was just very Japanese anime, and it's not for me. So I'm like, nope, I'm out. And then after hearing that the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is fantastic, it's an awesome Metroidvania, I'm down, man. I'm a gameplay first kind of guy, so I'll certainly be giving it a second look. I know my game share partner has very similar tastes, so the chances of this being in our collection are pretty high, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like I said, after the show, go give it a look. Go, go watch people's gameplay, and you're gonna be like, I'm hooked. I think 5 minutes after watching you fight a boss, or because I just got the ability to double jump. I had to fight a boss to get it, and it just, there's so much to do. Like I said, a big shout out to Distracted by OLED in the chat, says Bloodstained is awesome. So much to do in that game, and he's correct when saying that. It's so much exploration, so many different types of monsters. This is so much better than any Castlevania you've ever played.
Oh, baby.
Like I said,
That's good to know. Like it's my bad for literally judging a book by its cover, as they say. But I'm glad that I was here to hear from actual people that have played it, and they've turned me to certainly give it another look. It sounds like it's for me, so I'll
yeah,
probably
it definitely is. It's I think it's going to be right up in your wheelhouse, to be honest with you. And I'm very interested to talk to you after you see gameplay, and you're like, you know what, Boom, you're right. This is a masterpiece. And there's like all of this added stuff, besides finding weapons and adding armor and having different types of magics. Every time you kill a creature, there's a chance that you're going to get these shards that actually go into the body. There's like a small stoppage where you see the shard fly into the female character's body, and you can actually use that as now a summons. You can some of them where you can summon creatures. Some of them give you lightning power, fire power, all kinds of different magics by just killing creatures. And it's not every time you kill a creature, it's randomized, which makes it even more exciting when you get something you're looking for. And small piece of news, Shovel Knight is in fact in this game.
Shovel Knight's cool, dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I think I read somewhere where he's going to be playable. Right now, he's actually an adversary. He's one of the creatures, and you can get him as a summon. Once you unlock that shard, and you can actually send him out to do damage for you. It's pretty damn amazing, to be honest with you.
That's cool. He's had some pretty awesome cameos in games, considering it's just a little indie game that he's such a popular character. I like that too.
I love seeing when the smaller developers stick together and push each other's products. That makes me happy as a gamer, especially when when you talk about big AAA games, completely trampling over the smaller indie community. I love seeing that. Elite Gaming Guru, I want to get your opinion on this. You see, I don't know what your age is, but were you a Castlevania fan growing up?
Well, I'm a very old gamer, I think.
Okay, excellent. That's good. So you know what I'm talking about.
But I never played them, to be honest. I never got into them.
Okay.
So I might have to take a look. Listen to it. It sounds sort of quite fascinating and interesting. So I might have to have a look. But I missed a lot of games because I was a big sort of PC gamer, and I was just really focused
okay.
on
Okay.
MMOs
So you
and
missed a
stuff
lot
like
of the
that.
console stuff then.
Yeah, I missed a lot of console stuff. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I've got nothing much to add to this, but I'm going to look into it though because it does sound interesting.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's interested also, some guy in the chat is saying try Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
Yeah,
and basically what that was a really old school 8-bit 2D version of another game. It's like a prequel to Ritual of the Night. But it was done in Super Nintendo graphics. Very, very fantastic game. I didn't beat it.
Are any of these in Game Pass or?
You know what? I don't think so, dude. I don't think any of them are in Game Pass. But I know that Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, the 16-bit one, is not expensive, and the I believe Ritual of the Night is like $30. Like I said, before anyone buys it, the great thing about having YouTube is go watch people's gameplay. There's tons of it out there.
Yeah. Okay, mate. I'm gonna do that. Cheers.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're going to give it a shot. And Zemi, this is again, you're a lot younger than us, and I'm not sure if you were into Castlevania type games, but this has monsters and stuff, but it's not really scary. So I think you might actually want to give it a shot. Any chance that you might pick up or play Ritual of the Night?
I mean, there's always a chance, but probably not. I'm just not really that big of a Metrovania fan. Just that genre of games, like I always find myself getting very confused and not exactly knowing where to go to, and to add to all that, I'm just not really a huge fan of 2D platformers really anymore. And a lot of the times the combat in those games does look really, really, cool and stuff, but it's just not very particularly like rewarding for me. But with that being said, the game does look very good. From what I was actually watching a Let's Play of it last night. The controls look really, really smooth, and I absolutely love the art style. It has that at least in like the open cinematic scene, and even I guess throughout the game, it kind of has that that old 1990s anime art style to it, which I really, really like, from like watching Dragon Ball Z and Inuyasha and stuff like that like in my childhood back in the 90s. So it's not a game for me, but I am happy that you're enjoying it. And for a price point of like $40, and with all the content that you say that's in it and what it looks like, I mean, I think it's a tremendous buy if you are a fan of the Metroidvania genre.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. It's definitely, the art style stands right out, and it really does. I mean, the developer of this game, obviously, he comes from Konami. He was essentially the main dude when it came to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is revered as one of the best Castlevanias ever. And it was a big change because it was the first time that series saw an RPG type element added to a standard side-scrolling, essentially hack and slash. This has everything that you loved about Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It has that in spades. But I want to talk to my God, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the chat here. Gaming Forte. Again, you're an older gamer like me, so you appreciate the classics, which I think a lot of people. Not a lot of people. I think that some people overlook how important classic gaming still is today. And when you look at how well these classic smaller systems sell, and they sell like freaking hotcakes, and you know that because you work at GameStop. What is your interest level for this new old Castlevania type title?
Oh man, so I will be playing it right now, but I got it on a Switch, so I got to wait till Tuesday to get it. I think that game, the one thing I really enjoy about Castlevania style or Metrovania style games is you can put as much time into it as you want and progress as much as you want and still feel accomplished. You can do 10 to 15 minutes of something and still feel like you did something.
Yeah, that's a great point. Excellent point.
That's the one thing I really enjoy about those games. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit as being an older gamer, because when we were younger, we just played hours upon hours upon hours, and we would beat a game in one sitting almost. Compared now, I really see the value in games like that. These games don't really hold your hand, even though in this one does have a little bit more forgiveness to it. But I really enjoy this type of game. Like, I played Hollow Knights on the Switch. I love that game.
That's a great
that
game,
is
dude.
Freaking incredible. I played Dead Cells. I mean, honestly, when that whole situation with BoomStick went down, that got me interested in Dead Cells, just like hearing about that, and ended up being one of my favorite games last year. So this game is literally right up my alley. I love how it has that Metroid feel where you go to certain areas, beat certain bosses, you get certain abilities and stuff. That is something that really interests me a lot. But like the biggest thing, this game doesn't have to be the game that just drives you to play it every day. That's the one thing I really enjoy about these games is you pick it up, you play it, do as much as you want to do in it. You come back to it at a later date, and next thing you know, you've probably been playing it for a month, but you literally just put over 20, 30 hours in the game, and it doesn't even feel like it. And that's the reason I'm getting it on the Switch. But I did play it on PlayStation, and it is a dream. The controls are amazing. It's very fluid, very intuitive, and I think anybody that's into type of games like this will really enjoy it, and I don't think you'll be disappointed at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the price point is well worth it. Every penny is that you spend on this game is worth it. One thing I'd like to talk about, because we in one of the prior topics regarding free DLC, Higashi did a video where the next 13 weeks he's going to be offering 13 pieces of free DLC for the game. Everything is going to be free. They give as a thanks to the fan for supporting it. Everyone, whether you supported it on Kickstarter or not, you buy the game, you get all the DLC for free.
Does he know any hints on what kind of DLC they're talking about? Like maybe character
he didn't get
or
into
levels
particulars.
or
Yeah,
weapons?
I don't know if it's going to be like an ups because obviously in classic Castlevania fandom, once you beat the game, there's a mirror map where the everything is turned upside down. The castle goes upside down. At least that's how it was in Symphony of the Night. I would expect that something like that is going to happen for this game because it does mirror each other very closely, but also does things so differently that it's an entirely new experience. All I know is that whatever it is that's going to be coming out, the next 13 pieces of DLC is all for free.
Yeah, the price is right there. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing in itself. But before I move on to the next topic, though, I have to thank Errol Channer with the outstanding $2 super chat. Thanks so much for being here, brother. I really appreciate the support. I like to cover titles that other podcasts are not talking about because when you tune in to Double Barrel Gaming, I want you to be like, you know what? We're not going to get regurgitated shit. And that's why I work so hard on these topics. And the next one I want to talk about is a smaller title. It's available on the Nintendo Switch and the PC, and that's it. It's called My Friend Pedro. And I'm going to tell you this right now. It is one of the coolest and slickest games to release in 2019. It's over-the-top ultra violence and slow-mo Max Payne-esque gameplay completely blew me away. It just released, of course, on the Nintendo Switch, of all places. Obviously, they are starting to realize that not only do they have to cater to the younger generation that powers Nintendo, but there is a bunch of old bastards like us who continue to support the brand, and they need games like this for us. And look, launching a frying pan into the air and shooting to kill your enemies is one of many different ways this game will have you shredding enemies. And the slow motion is just, like I said, if you enjoyed Max Payne's Bullet Time, this game is for you. It's just a 2D version, but it's so cool and so slick. The story is completely like something ripped right out of a comic book. But here's a description of the game directly from Devolver Digital, who developed it. The strategic use of split aiming, slow motion, and the stylish window breach create one sensational action sequence after another in an explosive battle through the violent underworld. Unleash a torrent of destruction with an incredible level of control over both your weapons and your body. Twist and turn through the air while aiming both hands at priority threats, or line up the perfect ricochet shot to drop an unsuspecting gangster from behind. And look, the best way that I can say is this is the 2019 2D version of Max Payne. Now, some people who are a little younger may not know who Max Payne is, but I'm going to tell you this right now. He's one cool MF. And that game is still one of the, again, when you talk about classics in gaming, Max Payne is definitely one of them. What's amazing is that this game's only $20. And if you pre-ordered it, you saved 15%, which I think I paid like $16 for it. This game is worth every penny. And I want to go to Gaming Forte first, because I know this game is on your freaking radar. Tell the fans that are listening that, Nintendo, who caters to, again, the younger audience with the Smash Brothers and the Yoshi's Woolly World and the Luigi Mansions 3, but recognizing that there's an older fan base and having titles of this caliber, this cool, this stylized for the Nintendo Switch is pretty incredible. What are your thoughts on this title? I think he's on mute. Okay, he might have walked away for a second. You know what?
No, I'm on mute.
Okay.
I was on mute. Yeah, I thought I was talking and it was like, oh, I'm muted. So no, man, this is, I think, as an older generation, this is the one thing we always wanted from Nintendo. We always want to have more of these type of experiences. Basically, just because we don't want to always feel like the system we're playing on is only geared around the younger audience. We understand that, younger people play on these systems, especially on the Nintendo system, but there is still a very high majority of people that still play these games on these other systems just because they just like the experience of it. And this being a very affordable title, something that people can just sink their teeth into, I'm super excited for stuff like this. And I just want to see more and more of this from Nintendo going forward. I also want to be very frank. I want to see this from our third-party developers too. You know, I don't want to just see the AAA all-access game that's going to cost me $60 to be on systems like the Nintendo Switch. I want to see these smaller things like we talked about, like Hollow Knights and stuff like that. I want those type of games over there because not only do they not hold your hand, but I think I saw more rated R games on Nintendo stage than I saw at E3 for Microsoft, and it was kind of crazy. It seems like they're starting to really understand their fan base a little bit more, and they're starting to really talk about what can we do to grow this platform more. I never thought Nintendo ever had a problem when it came to the core of their fans. They know they probably speak to the core better than anybody speaks to the core when it comes to their games, but they always miss out on just third-party development, and they miss out talking to the people that grew up on their platform. You know, some people fall out of love with Nintendo, but you also got to remember, everybody came from Nintendo pretty much. We all
did one way or another.
We all came up one way or another. That's why I always thought this whole console war thing was a piece of crap, because we all grew up doing something around these systems. We all used to be PlayStation fans at one point. We just all decided to pick a platform that we just preferred to play different people with. And I'm starting to see a little bit more crossplay when it comes in that medium, especially between Microsoft and Nintendo. So more experiences like this are the better, and we're starting to see that a little bit more and more, because Nintendo feels more emboldened because their system is selling. As long as we support the system, I think we'll always get stuff like this, because it makes them want to bring even more types of games like this to the people that are actually playing it, and not just the kitty cutter games like, you know, Slipper Clips and stuff, which are fun in their own right, but everybody doesn't want to play games like that. People want to have those real hardcore experiences, and I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I like the route that they're going. I like that they're respecting their entire fan base, not just one small part of it. When you see more adult themed games hitting the Switch like this, it does make it a complete system. And where you can have your Yoshi's Woolly Worlds, but you can also have your Dead Cells and your My Friend Pedro, where it's ultra violent.
I just love this ultra. I just like how violent it is. It's just crazy.
It's over the top violence, and of course, when I say over the top violence, I'm gonna immediately go to So Shady, who adores games that not only have tight controls, great stories, but the extra violence on the side of this game. I asked him, a pre-game, does he have someone in the house that has a Switch? And he said yes, and he's going to look into this game. Once you see this game running, I think you're going to be sold. Same way I feel about Ritual of the Night. Based on what we've talked about and what you've heard, is your excitement level growing for My Friend Pedro?
Oh, dude, it didn't have to grow. My entire gaming crew and I have been really hyped for My Friend Pedro since 2018's E3, actually, when it was revealed at Devolver Digital's show. We've been all on board. The only thing we don't like is that it was exclusive to Switch on console, because that's none of our mains. There's one in the house. Like, no doubt, it'll give us another reason to pick it up and play it, but we would have rather it had, 1,000 points of achievements to get, friends to compare stuff with, a whole bunch of things that it's just missing out on by being a Switch game. I mean, and I can't give Nintendo too much credit. They didn't make the game either. Like, it's just a third-party game that's on their system. Nintendo, they still themselves as a first party very much caters to their Nintendo core. They constantly try and get new young gamers. That's a good thing. We need young people getting into gaming. Otherwise, the hobby will die with us. But that's why Nintendo was once my number one, and it no longer is for almost 15, 20 years now. Is they just refuse to grow up with me as a first-party developer at all, and they make it difficult for third-party to get involved on their platforms quite frequently for almost 3-4 generations now, in fact. Since the GameCube was their last big third-party console, in my opinion. And so saying that anyways, this game looks incredible, absolutely incredible. I first got like almost an elevator action vibe.
Yes, that's a
Like,
good
you know what I'm
point.
saying? It's a side-scrolling game. You're constantly jumping around in slow motion. You're dual-wielding guns. For everyone out there who's like a John Woo fan from the movies Face Off and Hard Boiled, stuff like that, the action's crazy. Like, you're doing giant flips, dual-wielding your guns, shooting enemies on the left and on the right, throwing frying pans in the air, ricocheting your shots off of that. Like, it's absolutely unreal. While on a skateboard, kicking the skateboard into guys' heads. It was unreal. We were sold the very first trailer. We were bummed it took this long to come out. We were also worried about the cost because it was coming to the Switch. Switch games are known to generally be a bit more pricey than their counterparts. So it's kind of like, well, oh my gosh, how much is this going to run? $20 is exactly the amount that I would be excited to pay for a game like this. It's also on the PC.
Yes.
So I mean, as much as I want to grab it like right now, as soon as the show is done and play it on the Switch, I've got like my fingers crossed that because it's on PC, and I've actually read something recently, I don't recall where, that Devolver Digital was saying that they were approached by Microsoft recently about Game Pass, and they're excited about the program. So I got my fingers crossed that something like this will just end up on the PC Game Pass, which I'm already a part of because I have Ultimate for the next 3 years, score. And I could just grab it there for free and play it on the laptop in the house. But the game looks absolutely phenomenal. If people have no interest in playing it on PC, the Switch is the place to play it right now. And it looks just like a ton of fun. I'm glad to hear that it actually plays really good as well, because that's the hinge part for what they were showing off in the trailer. If you actually have difficulty pulling that kind of stuff off, it would be a bummer. But as it turns out, it plays extremely solid. And my God, if I'm not excited to get my hands on it. So I probably won't wait for the PC, to be honest. I'm that kind of gamer. I need it now. So it'll end up on the Switch.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, if it does come to the Game Pass, PC Game Pass, you won't have to pay anything.
No.
So you know, you'll buy it once and you'll play it on multiple consoles. Let's hope that this is not a locked-in exclusive, where, because Devolver Digital doesn't do exclusives, from what I understand. They're usually a multi-plat company, so
They generally
maybe
do, like, yeah, and I would enjoy it more on my Xbox.
Me too. I agree.
I think it would load faster, and I want the achievements. I enjoy that part of being an Xbox gamer, is working towards achievements that these developers set up, especially when they're enjoyable ones, not just lame ones. So
not
missing
there just
that,
to be there, right? Yeah.
it's like when they're not there, it doesn't ruin the game at all. But I'm aware of them not being there. It's kind of like, oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Real quick, a graphic god in the chat. Thanks for being here, Jay. Really appreciate that. He says it's like John Wick meets Shinobi, and that is kind of that's a great analogy, because the game is, my God, it really is a fantastic smaller title. Elite Gaming Guru. I don't know if you have a Switch. And I don't necessarily know if this is ever going to come to the Xbox, but when you hear such praise for a smaller title from an excellent developer in Devolver Digital, would you be interested in playing this, or even looking it up to see what we're all talking about?
Yes, I've looked at it. I've looked at your link, and it does look fantastic. This is the kind of game that would, because the reason I've not bought a Switch is because, well, we've had all previous Wii and stuff. That's because for my kids and stuff. But as they're like 17 now, they are drawing away from Mario and stuff. It doesn't really draw them in. But this kind of game would, and exactly what's already been said. This is what I think the Switch needs. It needs to sort of branch out and have much more variety. And I would buy a Switch for this game. If they threw a couple more games like this on the Switch, I would definitely get a Switch, hands down. Looking at it, it reminds me actually of a game. Do you remember Rolling Thunder?
Oh my God, that was so good, dude.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of, Rolling Thunder.
Yes.
And with sort of a Deadpool-esque sort of just chaos and destruction. That's what it reminds me of. Yeah, this would, and that is, Rolling Thunder was exactly the same, of sort of side-scrolling 2D shooter, wasn't it? I would get this if I had a Switch. I'd buy it day one, and it is tempting to get a Switch 4. Yes, definitely. It's definitely got my thumbs up. This game. It looks brilliant. It looks absolutely brilliant.
For
I really like the sort of I really like, I don't know if you call it choreography, the animation of him flipping around and just all the dives and the shooting. It looks brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, that's actually a really good thing. You're getting a lot of people excited talking about Rolling Thunder, because that is exactly what it reminds me of, dude.
I was going to say, it's actually shock. What's even interesting and shocking is Switch is going to just drop a game like this, especially on the back of Call of Duty being called out for being too violent, and then Switch go bam with this. You're basically just obliterating people and shooting people's heads off, and it's on a Twitch, which is like a family console. So it said, but it brilliant, love it.
Yeah, dude. Actually, again, I really said that in the opening. It's shocking that the level of violence that is in this game, this would show up first on a Nintendo Switch. But I think what that really says is that this actually should prove to people who are non-Switch owners like yourself that this is not your detached and unaware Nintendo of old. I think that they understand that, yes, there is a place for the rated G games where it's for kids, but there's also a tremendous amount of older people like us who grew up with Nintendo, like Shady was saying, where they, we've all come from Nintendo one way or another. And again, if maybe you weren't a Nintendo kid, maybe you were a Sega kid.
Oh, the Sega boy, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, but we all come from something, and it's nice to see that they understand and they recognize that there is also an older fan base that enjoys these type of games. And again, I'm not going to say I'm going to enjoy this game as much as I enjoyed Mario Odyssey in this, and I'm probably going to play it just as much. But at two different genres, two different levels of non-violence versus violence, and I'm really glad that Nintendo is recognizing that. Zemi Games, I know you don't have a Switch, but this game is it may not, again, it's not really a platformer per se. It's like I said, it's more of a Max Payne type of situation with a really wacky story, lots of really cool slick action. Have you seen any video of this? And if you had a Switch, would this be a purchase?
I don't need a Switch because I got a computer.
Oh, so you have a PC. There you go.
I haven't purchased the game yet, but I did put it on my wish list. I'm definitely going to buy it and give it a try out. I would love to see it on Xbox. I really would. It's a shame that it's not on there because I just think it would play really, really well on the Xbox, and I would love to get achievements as well. But yeah, this is definitely a game on my list. The only reason why I haven't bought it yet is because my backlog is just disgusting. The game looks absolutely fun. Whenever I was watching some gameplay, and I was also watching some reviews of it on YouTube last night to prepare for the show. And, it gave me some really strong, like John Wick vibes, some really strong, like PlayStation 2 Max Payne vibes, and some like, I don't know if you guys remember, but like the Matrix game that was on the PlayStation 2.
Yes.
Like I was getting like flashbacks for that game. It just looks absolutely fun being able to ricochet your bullets off of like different plates like around the map and just absolutely devastate the enemies. There's also, it's not just you running through and just obliterating people. That's a big part of it, but there was also some mission, or at least one mission that I saw where you're actually driving a motorcycle on like an interstate, and there's all these cars that are like driving past you and all this different stuff, and you're shooting and you're doing backflips on a motorcycle and like slow-mo, and it just looks absolutely fun. It just does. And it just looks like a game that, as the game progresses, they're going to be adding new elements, and so it's not going to get stale or boring for me, which is a really, really big thing for me. I like new and unique gameplay elements getting added throughout my playthrough. So yeah, I'm super excited for it, and I'm definitely going to get it.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that, dude. Actually, I'm glad that you took a look at it, and you're gonna the fact that it's coming to both the Switch and the PC. Who knows? Again, I haven't heard anything about it being locked as an exclusive to the Switch, and because Devolver Digital does do multi-plats, maybe this is a timed exclusive. Because I, like everyone else on this panel, I would love to see this game come to the Xbox console, not so much Xbox PC Game Pass, because I don't really play on PC. I'm more of a console guy, even though I have Ultimate Game Pass. But you know what? This is actually a surprisingly cool topic. I want to move on to a topic that has a lot of controversy surrounding it. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is wrapped in some serious controversy regarding the violence in the game. where there's a mustard gas attack on a children playground, and another disturbing scene of violence. The question that I'm going to have for the panel and everybody in the chat here is this really necessary? Now, this story I pulled from the website Metro UK, and they're reporting that the new details have emerged about the most controversial Call of Duty mission since No Russian, which, by the way, if you don't know what that is, that was you play the role of an undercover agent who is playing as a terrorist, and you are required to basically shoot everybody in an airport. It was very, very disturbing. The first time I played through it, I didn't shoot around. I just walked through it. And it just the level of violence was it told a story, though, so that it wasn't unnecessary violence. Now I'm going to say this, as a Call of Duty fan, which I am, it's safe to say that since the meltdown with Vince Zampella and Jason West, who were originally with Infinity Ward, and the way that they were outed or ousted by Activision way back in 2010, Call of Duty has lost a lot of its luster. The storytelling has, in my opinion, this is my opinion, folks, subpar at best. And last year's Call of Duty Black Ops 4 was missing the single-player campaign, which, of course, is why I passed on the title altogether. With the re-imaging of Call of Duty Modern Warfare releasing this year, it's starting to take shape. And again, this is my opinion of I look over here. I'm here waving the hands title of 2019 with the statement, the most violent Call of Duty ever. The new game is claiming to do things, especially with one particular mission where you play as a young girl who has to defend her family from Russian soldiers. Now, I mean, again, if the violence is telling a story, which war is violent, I know people sometimes think, well, it's just a video game, but they're trying to tell a story. If it's unnecessary violence, then I have a problem with it. The game is claiming, again, it's the most violent Call of Duty. Shady, I want to go to you on this because obviously you are a person who appreciates story. You appreciate that what you're doing in your game is for something. What is your opinion about all of this controversy behind the level of extreme violence with women and children in the new Call of Duty?
To be honest, it doesn't bother me at all. There are no women and children in Call of Duty. There's no human beings in Call of Duty. We
right,
just have
that's a great point.
We have representations of people. This is entertainment. I'm not one to judge where people get their entertainment. There are savage war movies that are out that make huge money. People enjoy those. Some people don't. I think it's the same with books, novels. Some music is pretty hardcore for some people. Like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. That's fine. Don't buy it. Don't participate. But I think video games, more than other mediums, have been held back as far as actual quote-unquote adult mature content. I'm not a fan of toned down violence and representation and stuff like that. I would rather young minds, when they went and saw James Bond and someone got shot, it was horrific, because they kind of need to know that gun violence is horrific.
There you go.
Instead,
Good
everyone
point.
is constantly given this romanticized version of it all, where someone grasps at a wound and falls over dead nice and neat. It's not the way it goes. I'm not saying that video games or movies or books or any of that causes violence at all. I don't believe it does. But I think that if there's any damage being done, it's being done by toned down violence. Playing a war game and not actually having gruesome violence involved, I think, is not necessarily a good thing. This is war. It is the most embarrassing, most savage thing our species takes part in. We shouldn't be, as much as we're playing games and having fun here, they shouldn't be bleeding rainbows and just saying ouch and stuff like that. Like, it should be make you damn near put the controller down, stop and think, like, my God, this is a representation of the very real world we live in, is
That's
what
a
this
great
new game
point.
is
I
doing.
love this. It's great.
This stuff happens on a daily basis, maybe not in your neighborhood, but in someone else on this planet's neighborhood. Someone is defending themselves against some oppressive government, or they're fighting off some crazy urban terrorism because they're going to blow up a school. Like, this is going down, man. So I think to bring it to a different audience in gaming, to have us actually walk through it, it's fine. If it's not
Yes, I
for
agree.
you, or if it's not for somebody else, that's totally fine as well. Don't partake. I'm going to enjoy myself in the game. I'm going to have sadistic time in the game because, again, it's just for fun. I'm going to take it serious when the moments are serious, but at the end of the day, I enjoy shooting a bunch of shit in my games and having a bunch of gore flying everywhere and stuff. When I played No Russian, unlike yourself, that was like, my God, I'm not shooting anybody. I went for the high score on that level, baby. Those terrorists were not doubting my allegiance, if you will. Like, I'm just like, nah. And I
love
replayed
it.
it numerous times. I mean, and my roommates were grossed out. They were like, bro, what the fuck? And I'm like, hey, I can hit the replay button. I can play this game. You want to judge me over a bunch of AI on screen? I'm playing Grand Theft Auto, running over people left. Like, it's just a video game. It's a place to vent and have fun where nothing and nobody is getting hurt. So, I mean, hey, I'm fine with it. I'm excited about it. Will it be disturbing? Yes, it's supposed to be disturbing. Urban terrorism in a modern environment is some frightening shit. And I think to have it in a game like this will just make stuff like this, I don't know, bring it to the forefront again of like, man, there's a lot of technology out there and a lot of ignorance alongside it. And that's a dangerous combination. And let's see what can happen. Like I said, this stuff happens every day somewhere around the world. So to think that because it's in a video game all of a sudden is the abhorrent part. The abhorrent part is that it's real. Real stuff happens. That's what's actually sickening. In a video game, it's fine. I mean, if we were to fast forward to a utopian society where no one is ever arrested for a violent crime ever again, are we not allowed to have a violent movie ever again, or a violent book, or a violent game? What are you doing fighting each other in this video game? We don't do like, no, this is entertainment. At the end of the day, I'll leave it at that. It's not real. So I understand people being grossed out and turning away from it. That's fine. But calling for bans or content changes or anything like that, I cannot get behind. Boo those people, man.
You know what? I have to agree with you. This is going to be a rated M for mature.
Yeah.
You know, obviously with the access that we all have, that we didn't have 20 years ago. You know, if you remember, folks, when and again, this is really dating my age. When I used to buy a game, I used to look at the back of the box.
Yeah, that was your judge. A couple screenshots
at Toys R Us. You know, you'd flip the box upside down. You look at the thing, and if it looked cool, you bought the game, right? And you know what? A good portion of 5 out of 10 of those buys, you got to remember this is when you had allowance. They were shitty games. You remember that game Kid Nicky for the NES? Well, I bought that game thinking it was going to be great, and it was a big pile of you know what. And it's just.
You know what worries me, Boom, is the controversy around this game. I mean, this is nothing. This is nothing. Virtual reality is still on the cusp of showing some serious stuff. Check out a game called Boneworks if you want to see what a real John Wick game looks like. My God, it's incredible. And we are nothing yet. Once we have a Matrix we're jacking in, or we have a holodeck or something like that, the last thing I want is society or a government agency, especially, let's say, not allowing certain virtual worlds to be partaken in. No, you're not allowed to be in that virtual world. It's too real for you to reenact World War II. No, again, it's virtual. It's all not real. No one's being hurt. I don't want people judging what is allowed in entertainment or our media. It's not right in movies. It's not right in books. It's not right in games. And it won't be right in our future virtual worlds. We have to stand for those rights today, I think, because if people are afraid of what's happening when I'm holding a controller, just wait until I'm controlling everything with my mind and the virtual world you're in is as vivid as the real world. What's the fear levels going to be at then? Like nothing. It should be at nothing. I think they should be able to make whatever they want for whatever reason. That's it. Like we got to not let any form of censorship creep in as much as it's disturbing content. If it's too disturbing, don't partake. Let the money speak. If it sells well, that says a lot. People are interested in a real world experience.
It's Call of Duty, so it's probably going to be one of the best-selling games this year. The one thing I'm going to say, I want to go to Elite Gaming Guru on this one. Obviously, this is it's making headlines because there are certain gaming websites that are speaking out against the level of violence. Some of their younger reporters are seeing this in action, and of course, there's a lot of outrage. Now, we talk about this, we say it jokingly, and I'm not saying it jokingly now. The amount of fake outrage that goes on within the internet today is disturbing, especially when, again, like Shady was saying. Now, again, I'm going to say this: unnecessary violence or gruesome violence. I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen it. I've watched every horror movie genre you could possibly imagine. And some things I'm okay with. Some things I just won't watch because it's over the top. Now I'm saying this. I'm not gonna not buy Call of Duty because of the amount of violence behind it, because war is in fact violent. It really is. And again, it depends on what the context is, but I don't think they're just gonna it's gonna be like what was that game that was banned?
It was called Hatred. I was going to jump in. Boom.
Yes.
Being a former police officer, whether you yourself experienced it or the people you were working with, get on a daily basis, see like some of the worst shades of humanity. That's the
Right.
job. And to say that, some people want to take enjoyment out of that in a video game, I could see it being disturbing to people like yourself or whatnot. But I think Hatred was a brilliant example of it's just a video game. The fact that I can't get to level 2 until I've killed all the neighbors on the block, it sounds nuts. But I mean, it's a top-down, cartoony looking, heavy on the physics game. It's actually fun. I was cackling like a psychopath as I'm doing it, wondering like, why is this even like the last thing I'm gonna do is run outside and kill my neighbors after playing. Like there's that connect isn't there. It's no different than Grand Theft Auto and just running over as many civilians as you can to get 5 stars and then shooting as many police officers as you can. I mean, just saying that makes you sound psychotic. Killing as many cops as you can do. Yeah, one of the worst things we can have happen in our society, for real. We're going to do in a video game and get our jollies off of. So I think Hatred was as gruesome as it is and as sick, quote unquote, as the concept of the gameplay is. I, again, had zero problem with the game existing. I thought it was very unfair that it was shut down on a lot of places. I thought the game was fun. If people didn't want to play it, don't buy it. Like, I don't like this culture of get it out of here because it bugs me because someone in the real world shut up their neighborhood. It's like, yeah, no doubt. Someone in the real world has done everything we're doing. Like the world is big. There's 7 billion of us. We can't be picking and choosing, I think. If we want a free world and a free society and true free speech, if you will, you can't pick and choose. You take the good and the bad and the ugly. And if it's not for you, don't partake. That's all I gotta say, man. But Hatred, I think it was unfairly dumped on.
I mean, sometimes it's just too much for people. But Gaming Guru, in your opinion, what you're hearing about this game, the level of violence is going to be in your face, according to the press release. Is that going to deter you from buying Call of Duty Modern Warfare?
No. What will deter me from buying Call of Duty is just Call of Duty is not they're crap games. Basically, I just lost interest in the game ages ago. It's a two-prong approach. Firstly, the violence. I don't think there's anything wrong with the violence. You're talking of games that are banned. I think the Hatred, it might have been a different game over here, but it was called Postal, or are they two different games? There was a game called Postal where you just went around killing people.
It was very similar. They were very, very similar
Do
games.
you remember that one? But and then also the big game was Manhunter. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes.
And that was just gruesome. Some of the things you've done that. But at the end of the day, as Shady says, these are just games, and if you can't do it, there are worse of films. I was watching stuff like Alien and stuff when I was 8 and stuff like that. There's worse of films that kids can watch, far worse, and reality is worse of on the streets these days. But it's a game at the end of the day. My only thing is I mean, we've been down this road before with Call of Duty when they went for the airport, and it just seems they throw something really violent and sort of shocking in just for the attention of it. Just when they feel, I think Call of Duty is kind of a bit sort of irrelevant. Like, hey, look at us, everyone. We're really violent. We're the most violent game out, and then draw the audience back in. That's my only concern with this Call of Duty, with the Call of Duty franchises. As soon as they become irrelevant, they throw violence in. I won't buy the game. I'll be checking it out and stuff, and my son most probably will buy it, even though he's only 17, so he's underage. But I myself probably won't play it. But just to confirm, yeah, the violent. I mean, the things my character done in Red Dead 2. I killed many women, and I'm ashamed to say it. It's just part and parcel of the game. You just got to be able to detach yourselves from the reality. You are playing a game, and as long as you're just a sane person and you can walk away from that, then there's no harm done. And yeah, basically.
I mean, I suppose that as long as you are just playing the game and you're not translating that into real world actions, it's probably never going to be a problem. Most people are going to play the game and be done with it. But you know, my real question, Elite Guru, I'll go back to you. You know, obviously, Call of Duty has lost a lot of its luster. There's no doubt that it's not the same Call of Duty from Modern Warfare 1 and 2. It's just not. Black Ops 1 and 2 were fantastic. Black Ops 3 and 4, not so much, right? Some of the more futuristic Call of Duties where you're flying in outer space, even though I was okay with that.
Don't you crap on that Infinite Warfare. That's my favorite.
No. I
love
mean,
that story.
it's okay, but just as a whole for the entire franchise, it has lost a lot of its luster. And obviously, you're hearing about infighting with the next Call of Duty, not 2020, not 2019 Call of Duty, 2020 Call of Duty. They dumped to the studios and they gave it back to the Black Ops studios because they were having problems. There's a lot of stuff going on over there. So my question, and I will relate this to the rest of the panel once I get to you, is this attempt at ultra violence going it's going away from what we normally see in Call of Duty. Yes, there's violence, but the ultra violence has never really been there other than No Russian. In your opinion, Elite Gaming Guru, is this them trying to wave, to get people's attention just so they can get more sales?
Yes, that was my point. Yeah, well, as they say, good or bad publicity, it's still publicity, and I think I just feel like they just thrown that in because I mean it was only the last game they removed the campaign because their campaigns were losing interest. So now they've thrown a campaign in and gone back to their I think it was about 4 years. I can't remember what one it was. Was it the one where they went for the airport killing people, which is what last time sort of spurred up this whole thing about COD and banning.
Yeah, I believe that was Modern Warfare 2. No Russian.
They dropped the campaign because they did announce that what they were doing was too ambitious and it fell apart. Like they couldn't get it right. It fell apart. When you play Black Ops 4, a lot of the cutscene stuff and the agent videos and everything you can watch, that was pulled from those campaigns. It's very disjointed in what they have to offer, and it's obvious that it was coming from a campaign that they'd had. Like I'm willing to believe that it fell apart and didn't work. This new one is on a brand new engine for the very first time.
Yeah, thank God, finally. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like I think Call of Duty has always looked really good, considering it's they upgrade the engine year after year. It's not really using the same exact engine, but like they did dump it only because they were having technical issues, and coming out this year with a brand new engine, and then next year as well, like the year after that, sorry, they're saying that they were also having development issues, and I think there's just something going down with Call of Duty that they're trying with the campaign, new things. It's been very formulaic, and if you're going to suddenly try a whole bunch of new stuff, there could be some issues and some problems. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Looking at the game, Shady, the games are getting a bit stale. I mean, they're annual games now, getting a bit stale. The gameplay is getting a bit.
That's right. So they got to do something drastic, and I'm willing to believe that they're trying.
Violence, if it's good, will this violence then carry over into the PvP?
I hope so, to be honest. Like, I love throwing a grenade and some guy's leg is missing from the knee down. It's savage. It's just like, whoa, that's some brutalness. Right there.
Yeah, kick him to the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that stuff in my games.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, it's definitely a hot topic, but I want to go to Zemi Games on this. Zemi, obviously this has been in the news for the last couple of weeks. We didn't hear much about it at E3 because I don't know how much of they showed of the game because I don't recall seeing much of anything. I saw the opening trailer. They said actual in-game footage. It looks amazing. And then, of course, you started hearing some of the journalists from the smaller sites and some of the bigger sites that were outraged by the level of violence. For you personally, does the level of violence is justified in a game like Call of Duty, or is it something you would shy away from?
Absolutely not. I mean, this is honestly one of the Call of Duties. I mean, I never thought I'd ever say this in my entire life, but this Call of Duty, I 1000% back. Like 100%, 1000%. I think what they're doing is fantastic. And to answer like the shock and awe question, I think that it is a bit of that. Call of Duty has been, steadily losing numbers. I mean, Fortnite's a huge competitor, with them. And they need to reimagine the franchise, and they need to do something new. But I don't think it's necessarily all just shock and awe and trying to get big names and news articles to try to sell a game. I think a lot of it also is they're just trying to to tell a very compelling story and show an audience what war really is like. And I absolutely love that. I'm a huge advocate for realism in games, and I can tell you right now that war is violent. It's disturbing, and hopefully this game will leave many people feeling emotions that they've never felt while playing a game before. I really hope that, because that's what good media and that's what good art and that's what a good video game should do. And they're spending a tremendous amount of time and effort on this story mode, probably more than they ever have on any Call of Duty before, which is fantastic. And there are, people talking about how, it's possible to kill civilians. I think there was also some people were talking about in a certain situation. There's a possibility that you could kill a child and
a mother and a child. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. I think she's armed. I think she's like grabs the kid and then she pulls a gun out kind of deal. So it's like, hey, again, that happens, man. People shield themselves behind the worst things.
Absolutely. And the thing to remember is that, a lot of people have this idea that, they think that war isn't, that bad, but it really is. I mean, American soldiers do kill civilians just like the other side does. It's a fact. It happens. And I'm not saying that it's good or anything, but, I was watching on E3, there's like one of like the videos that they showed press was a mission where the SAS is going into like a London house.
You're correct. The townhouse. Correct.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the corridors are really, really tight. And there are civilians in there, just like there are terrorists in there. And another thing that they're adding to this game is the ability to shoot through all sorts of walls and doors and stuff like that. And they also mentioned how different caliber of bullets will have a different, impact on how well it penetrates and through walls and stuff. And whenever you start shooting that gun, sometimes a bullet's going to go through a wall and it could hit a civilian and that civilian could die. It's just a thing. It just happens, right? It's dark. It's terrible. We don't want to think about these things, but it does happen. And I think this game shedding light on that is a fantastic thing as well. Whenever we play all these games, we always keep our finger on the trigger.
Right.
If I shoot guns in real life, I'm not going to put my finger on that trigger unless I'm ready to shoot and hit my target. Right. Yes. You keep your finger off the trigger. And I think this game is going to get a lot of people to kind of keep that in their mind, that war isn't, clean. You go in, you just kill the bad guys and then you're out. I think it's also going to help people understand that there's not a, black and white to war. There's not, these guys are good and these guys are bad. There's a lot of gray, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And I'm super excited for this game. I really am. And, am I going to go into a townhouse and just shoot civilians? No, I'm going to try to shoot the bad people. Do I think it's possible that I will hit a civilian? Yeah. Will I feel absolutely terrible about it? Yeah, I will feel so bad if I end up killing that woman and the child. There was also apparently a line talking about how there was a Russian man talking about sex trafficking, which is a huge issue in our world today.
It
that
is.
A lot of people don't know about.
Correct.
And so to bring this issue forward is going to get a lot of people, saying, hey, that does exist, because a lot of the times we hear about things or we see things in games and it could be, the way it is, but we just think, oh, that's just a game, so it's not real. All these things that they're putting into this game happen in real life. You know,
Well,
it's
so
not,
shocking in a game. Yeah, like with the very first episode of Daredevil Marvel series, he's busting up a sex traffic ring. Daredevil, Marvel, superheroes. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay in one medium, but you put it in a video game and stop the world. Someone's got to, it's ridiculous.
and all this violence is going towards pushing a narrative. It's not like you're just going into a townhouse and killing, every single person that lives there. You're going into that townhouse because there is a cell of terrorists that I guess want to do harm to London. You know, there's a lot of background story to why you're doing these things, and unfortunate things can happen, but they can happen in real life. And I'm super excited about it. And, I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are upset and they don't like the violence. They don't like this type of thing in their video game. And that's perfectly fine. And all these people who want to write articles about it are more than are more in their right to do that than anything. But I think the biggest thing would be those people that are trying to censor Call of Duty, trying to say, well, you can't do that because we don't agree with that. Because censorship is just something I absolutely disagree with 100%.
Yes, I agree. I think that as an adult, we have an opportunity and a choice to buy or not to buy. I think that, when you're going to buy something that says M for mature, you have that responsibility, not only to yourself, but the people in your household, especially if you're a parent, that you're going to let your kids play or you're not going to let your kids play. My nephew Daniel comes over here. I pick him up from school. He's my partner's son. My work partner's son, and I'm like a second dad to him. He comes over here and he understands that the same rules that apply at his home with both his mom and dad apply here. And of course he's tried. Oh, can I play GTA 5? And he's 10. The answer is no. You cannot play GTA 5 because you're 10. We'll talk about this much later. So I take the responsibility very seriously, and like I said, I like you and like many people on this panel, I'm actually really looking forward to see how this plays out, because I've enjoyed prior Call of Duties because of their very not so much serious, but the stories that are being told are interesting to me. It's like watching and playing a movie at the same time. That's what I was talking about with the older Infinity War. They told great stories, really not so much in some of the recent Call of Duty. So I'm very interested to see where they go with this one. But Sammy, that was a great description. Everyone's been really great on this so far. And of course, I want to talk, of course, to Gaming Forte on this. Now, you work in GameStop. You've seen the 13-year-old, the 11-year-olds walk up with their mom, say GTA 5, and they just hand it to them and they keep it moving. You've seen that, and that happens more often than people know. But from what you're hearing about Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is basically a re-imaging or retelling of the original Call of Duty, where they're adding all this new content, do you have any issues with the amount of violence that we've been talking about?
No.
Okay, great.
Absolutely not. Just for the fact that there is so in this people just think of video games as just one media. There is so many different medias that portray violence in such a unfathomable way. I mean, John Wick is one of the most watched movies this year, and we all know what
violent as you could be.
This is most violent. And you know what? I went to the show day one to go see it, and there was people there with their kids. There were people with their parents. It was. I didn't think nothing of it, because that is a medium that most people just accept that that's what's going to be in. Why should video games be any different? People walk into the store, like you said, every day, and they'll say, hey, I want to get GTA. And then us being, the salespeople in the store, we have to let the mom and dad know, like, well, this is the stuff that's in the game. Are you okay with that? Because we don't want to give their kids something that they don't approve of. And most times parents say, no, that's fine. He knows the difference between right and wrong. Or they'll say, no, my son's not playing that. Go pick something else. That's the problem. People keep trying to relate the gaming sphere to a child's thing. The people that play this now are older than the people making laws or trying to talk about this stuff now. I mean, not older, but they're so much older, they don't even understand what's going on. You know, we grew up in this media, so we understand what we like and what we don't like. When I was like, perfect example, when we were playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the no rushing mission, I had a reaction to it. It's like, I really went through that whole thing and didn't shoot anybody. I was like, everybody's gonna die in here anyway. I might as well not have to pull the trigger and help it along. And even when I'm playing a game, if I accidentally shoot a civilian, you know, Call of Duty pops that little screen up, or they'll say on the screen, they say, hey, watch the civilians. And, you know, it will tell you on the screen if you do it. Right. It would actually it'll give you a fail safe on the game. So the game, even though it's there and you can do it, the game kind of narrates you in a direction where they let you know that this still isn't right. But the one thing I always will support is developers when it comes to their vision. People have a story to tell. We wouldn't get the stories that we get in video games without the violence that they are willing to depict in these games. We love games like Last of Us 2 because of the story that's involved in it. But guess what? Last of Us 2 is a violent freaking game. And Last of Us 1, but the second one looks like it's going to be even more. So we can celebrate something like that, but then in a game like Call of Duty, where most people just consider that game a kid's game at this point because little 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds run around and playing it. No, that has always been the narrative in Call of Duty. They kind of toned it back a little bit over the course of a couple of years, but they are definitely going for the hype factor with this. That's the one thing Call of Duty used to always be good at. They put out a product, they hype it to oblivion, and they show all of the things that you're going to be doing throughout the game that's going to make you invested. And I don't think that's a bad thing because that's the vision of the developer. The developer decided that this is what we want our game to be, and they're doubling down on it. And I don't want to take that away from them, because if you do, then we're going to start getting mundane games that people just say, okay, it was a good experience. It wasn't a memorable experience. We remember stuff in Call of Duty. I remember when a nuclear bomb went off in Modern Warfare 2 and I was in the back of the helicopter. Yeah. And that whole city got obliterated. Yeah. I remember that. I remember the no rushing mission. I remember killing hundreds and hundreds of people in Modern Warfare 3, getting to the top of the tower to take off Makarov for the first time. Modern Warfare 3 wasn't the best Call of Duty, but guess what? Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2, the story in those two games made me so compelled to buy Modern Warfare 3 just to finish the Makarov story mission. And it was very enjoyable, and I love that series of games. So I want them to continue to go down that route. Is it like a slippery slope for some people? Yes, maybe. But they got to remember, this isn't the only media this happens in. We need to see this happen. If you're going to have if you're going to try to be idealistic about everything in the world, it needs to kind of be about everything in the world and not just the one thing that you might not partake in because it's something you don't enjoy. We all go watch movies. So we all need to respect each other's hobbies and know that everybody's not trying to go out and mass murder 100,000 people. People do have hearts. People that want to do stuff like that, they're going to do it regardless, just because they're lost in the head. And it's an unfortunate thing, but then just don't try to take creativity away from developers, because that's the one thing that could really hurt this industry more than anything.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think that this is getting a lot of and it's not mainstream media yet that is talking about this. I'm sure at one point or another, when the game releases and it's out there for people to put up videos, some people are going to have issues with it. I'm excited for Call of Duty for the storytelling, the graphics. Finally, we're getting a new engine, for the love of Jehovah. Finally, after all these years, that video that they showed that said in-game footage looked unbelievably fantastic.
It did look insane, man. I'm gonna say this right now. My God, I bust into that house and that chickie poo there tries to hide behind a baby and she pulls a gun. The baby, the chick, their heads are coming right off because no one's getting hurt here. That's what's gonna happen in my game, is a giant spray with my machine gun straight up two bodies and they're down. Lesson learned for any other AI in the house. Shady's coming through. I mean, Jesus, calm down, everybody. Nothing's getting killed here. Nothing.
Right.
I mean, one fantastic thing about the game is because I was watching like the I think 3 developers and some other guy talking about the game. Whenever like a lot of almost everything's like motion captured, right? And they got actors to play Captain Price and all the other main characters
that
and
is
stuff.
correct.
And so like the facial animations, all that different stuff looks fantastic. But I could be mistaken, but I do believe another thing that they said is that whenever they were designing how these people were going to walk down hallways and stuff, they actually went and started filming Navy SEALs and seeing how they breach into different doorways, how they maneuver around. Because with a Navy SEAL, it's just embedded in them. They're automatically going to check corners and everything, right? And so they have put so much effort into this. I don't think it's just shock and awe. I think it's really, like almost like a creative vision for them to make this.
So it's a very real world depiction of a real world modern day war. It's not just one army lining up and 100 feet away is the other army and they just shoot at each other. That's not how it goes down in today's world. And this is just depicting what happens on a daily basis on the planet we live on.
Yeah, some people need to just go back and look at some of those old making of clips. Like Call of Duty used to come with them all the time, especially if you bought like the prestige editions, and it was like a behind the scenes of the game. And you'll get to see it's just not throwing it together and just seeing what sticks. They put a lot of work and a lot, like you said, they go out and they contract these different branches of the military to portray and train people to make the game look as realistic as possible. And you're not going to do that unless you're going to go all the way out on things that you can see in the real world. That's why they're getting real world people to actually portray these characters in the motion captures to make it look authentic, so it doesn't look like just anybody's running up the street doing this type of stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, I think at the end of the day, this is going to probably want to be one of the most selling Call of Duties in years, simply because they're going back to Modern Warfare, which is probably one of the best games in the series. There's no doubt about it. The fact that it's not a carbon copy, that it's more of a retelling of the original tale, for me, excites me as a fan, because remakes are great, remakes are fine, but when they're when they're going out of the way to tell all these new stories with a new graphics engine, I think they're putting maximum effort into it. And again, some of the content may be too much for some, but I think that when you put it into context, I saw someone wrote in the chat, I don't recall who said it, that they kill everyone and anyone in the game because they know at the end of the day they're not going to jail. And that's very true. Again, I don't necessarily think listen, someone who has a warped mind, a warped sensibility, doesn't need Call of Duty to push them over the edge to go commit a murder.
True, yeah.
There are plenty of there's music, there's art, there's different forms of entertainment that's readily available. I mean, you go to Netflix, go to Hulu, watch a violent movie. If you're going to commit that violent act, I don't necessarily think that movie, game, song is going to push you over the edge. I just think that if it's going to happen, it's because you want that to happen. And I don't think that, again, the level of violence in something like a GTA is over the top violence, especially when you're trying to get like those 5 stars, like Shady was saying, where you're killing just rows and rows of police officers that show up to stop you. Yeah. It is at the end of the day a game. And I necessarily, as coming, well, obviously I was a New York City police officer. Everyone knows that. I don't really get offended because I understand that it's a game. Now, if someone tries to do that in real life, which they've done, of course, I'm going to have a problem with that.
It's absolutely abhorrent. Like, imagine a real life story of someone taking a hooker into an alley and then getting the job done and then beating her to death with a baseball bat to get his $20 back. It would make me sick to my stomach. Yet in a video game, it's hilarious. I'm doing that on the regular. It's just like, oh, by the way, I'll take that money back, bitch.
I've done that too. I've done that more times than I want to admit to.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if you ever to hear that on the actual nightly news that it happened on anywhere, it would just be like gross, and I'd go throw up. Like there's no tolerance in the real world, but media for fun, for games, there's no bar for me, man. Bring it on and let the people decide. If it's not for them, then don't play it. It's for other people, and it's not hurting anyone at the end of the day.
Yeah, and just like I'm gonna back up what Boom was saying about how Call of Duty is gonna do this year. On BRAP, we had Matt Pizzatello on there, and he talked about it. He put down his top 10 games in Call of Duty coming out at the end of the year. He said it's going to be the #1 sold game this whole year. So that lets you know that this ain't gonna hurt this game one bit, because you know he does this for a living, working for MPD, and trust me, Call of Duty has been a lot worse off. And I think this game, just the name of it, is bringing back excitement more than anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think that going back to the original that everyone reveres as being the best of the best, and now that we're getting a new graphics engine, we're getting like I said, the retelling of this story that we're getting. I mean, because we're getting Captain Price back, which is big. He's one of my favorite characters. I'm sure Ghost is going to be back in this game. And maybe he doesn't die this time around.
Oh my God, that was traumatic.
You know, which I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Maybe they'll change the story that this is a reboot of the series, and they just take it from here, which is actually what I'm hoping that they go to. And but you know what, we've spent a significant amount of time. This was a great topic because everyone was very honest. I saw the chat going back and forth. Big shout out to Slow Mo Backslap that was in there, had a lot to say. Very interesting stuff, dude. And like I said, you know, if you know Slow Mo like I do, and like Gaming Forte does, he wouldn't be him if he wasn't saying what was on his mind. So I appreciate him, you know, talking about, because he was actually supposed to be on today's show as well. Right. Unfortunately, he had to go to work. But
shout out to Slow, man. He's a good guy. We went back and forth in the chat. I mean, I just, you know, if it's not for you, don't play it. I that's all I got to say about anything out there, really. Yeah,
no, really. Again, if it's not your cup of tea, then the best thing to do is just stay away from it. But, you know, I want to talk about another game that's ultra violence, but it's also one that we've been playing since the game was on floppy disks. Doom Eternal has the potential to be a game of the year candidate like it was in 2016, where it won basically every award possible from the gaming media and the fan base. This game is going to be bigger and certainly much more badder than its 2016 reboot counterpart. Besides hell coming to earth, the forces of heaven are trying to stop the Doomslayer from saving humanity. And you want to talk about a story arc here. Right. Heaven is saying nay to humanity, and they're actually getting involved to try and attempt to stop the Doomslayer from killing all the demons. That's a pretty incredible story. The weapons of Doom have always been at the forefront of the long-running franchise, and Doom Eternal definitely ups the ante with the new ways to traverse the extremely large maps using the tools of destruction that we all know and love, shredding the spawns of hell by the boatload. I think Shady's salivating. And being a single-player game, there's always a concern that what's going to happen after the title initially launches is that it's going to kind of just go to the wayside. But thanks to new information that I pulled from the pages of comicbook.com, ID Software apparently has all of the fan base covered. Bethesda has confirmed that Doom Eternal will get not one but two huge single-player DLC releases as part of its year one post-launch content. And the actual news didn't really come from Bethesda themselves or ID Software specifically. When you look at the game's collector's edition, which comes with the helmet, which I was able to get my hands on finally, it talks about the Doom Eternal year one pass. And what that excites me as a fan is, you know, this is a single player game. Yes, it has multiplayer, but Doom as a whole has been always about your experience as the Doom Slayer. right? And 2016's version was a reboot of the series. This one, the 2019 version looks to be, like I said, even more insane. The fact that they're going to have DLC to extend the story in a single player game where multiplayer in 2019 rules the roost, so to speak, has me very excited. And I like that they say year one, which means that they were probably going to get year 2 DLC continuing the story. And I think that's even more exciting. And Shady, I want to go to you on this one first because, obviously DLC, microtransactions, loot boxes, these are all dirty words. But when you talk about single player games, Doom Eternal is going to be a big game, but eventually it's going to be over. For you as a fan of the series, are you excited to know that Doom Eternal is going to have a year 1 and possibly a year 2 plan with the new DLC?
Yeah, it sounds really good, man. I really like id Software's level design and stuff. So when they're saying that they're adding new story, that just tells me that there's more awesome levels and combat scenarios for me to get into and fight these demons and the forces of heaven, of course. So that excites me, man. Like, one thing I like about Doom is it does have a wicked story and lore to it, but it's not cramming it down my throat via 5, 6, 7 minute cutscenes every 15-20 minutes of gameplay. There's almost no cutscenes in Doom, actually, and all the lore is from you reading consoles, reading the lore that you pick up, the collectibles. If you don't want to listen to the stuff that the NPCs are talking to you about, you just walk away. You just walk away. Like, it doesn't even matter. I really do enjoy that type of storytelling in the game where I don't have to put my controller down for minutes at a time. I mean, everyone, again, teach their own. I've just lost interest in cutscene heavy games. That was a big thing last gen for me because first time they started to look really damn good, and now they look amazing, of course, but I'd rather play my games. I can't wait for these cutscenes to end so I can get back into the game and play the suckers usually. So I mean, like, I'm excited for the story, no doubt, but I'm excited for the new areas that they're going to bring with the DLC maps. More so. That's what I'm excited for when it comes to that. I hope they also bring it on the multiplayer front. I'd like to see that stuff be free content. So as we, what we brought up earlier with splittering the online multiplayer base doesn't happen, because that was a big one with Doom, was you bought Doom and no one else was playing the DLC for that. So
you're right. That's a great point.
Sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. It's free now. All the DLC for the last one is free now, but it didn't start that way. And I don't know what they're going to do with this next one, but I got no problem paying for more story content, especially if it's lengthy. I don't like dropping, $20 and getting 3 hours out of it. That's not bad. It's $20 and you get a 2-hour movie at the IMAX as a quick example of just, one entertainment to another, right? But I hope that they're meaty. I really do. And like you said, year 1, that's enticing sounding because they did say that this was the beginning of really building up the Doom universe. So I hope that there's, a lot of support to come in the years after the launch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, considering that single player games, a couple of years ago we talked about, do we really need them in gaming? And the answer is, you're damn right we freaking do. Because older gamers like myself appreciate a strong story-driven, adult-themed single player game. Maybe you can call me the selfish gamer. And I'm okay with that because I enjoy single player games. I played Destiny, I played The Division, I played Anthem. There's plenty of multiplayer games, but something like Doom, I like a nice, strong single player story, and to know that we're going to be getting DLC in the form of a year 1, and there's supposed to be big, really big DLC. I'm happy to know about that. Elite Gaming Guru, I want to get your opinion on this. As a fan of being an older gamer like myself, you obviously grew up playing single player games, and at one time or another, multiplayer games used to be like a foreign concept. You're like, well, multiplayer, okay, I'll play it with my friends, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna go play this, by myself. And I like that the ID Software and Bethesda are keeping it together, keeping it real, especially with Doom, which is a classic franchise. For you, are you excited to know that they're going to be supporting this game after its initial release?
Yes, I am. To be honest, I haven't played Doom since the original, the first Doom, way back when, and then I just didn't play much more of the others, I'm afraid. But I might pick this up because the latest Doom is in Game Pass.
It certainly is. Yeah, you should definitely play that. It's amazing.
Exactly, because I keep hearing so much good stuff about it. I really want to get into it, but as everyone understands, it's such massive backlogs now, and I keep downloading Game Pass games, starting one, another one drops, and like But so I'm gonna have to. I'm not gonna give any opinion yet until I've played the last Doom, but I will look at some trailers and look more into the game, which will probably get me more hyped for the Doom that's already been released. So I'm sorry, there's not much more I've got to add.
No, I mean it's okay. I'm definitely going to suggest that you should definitely play Doom 2016. It is a masterpiece. I
It
think
is,
you're gonna.
man.
It's gorgeous to look at. It's amazing on the Xbox One X. It's in Game Pass. It's not going to cost you a dime plus past your $10 you're paying, unless like you're all of us paid up until the cows come home. I highly recommend popping that in, downloading it, and immediately playing that game.
It's exactly the same as Wolfenstein. I want to play the new
It's close.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah, it's very close. But
Yeah.
honestly, dude, this is like it's the closest thing to the perfect shooter for So Shady, man. Like it's so good. You gotta check it out.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying I wanted to play the new Wolfenstein and all because I played the original first ever one of those way back.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was all right, but as I said, as I get into multiplayer games, I'd sort of lost track of single player games. But the new Wolfenstein that released recently, that sort of sparked my interest, and that's on Game Pass now, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, you
So I need
definitely
to- I
listen.
need
They're
to
all
get-
in Game
yeah,
Pass. There's no
I need to
reason
get
for you
back into
not to
these
play
games.
them.
Yeah, I agree with you both. I need to get back into it.
Absolutely. And the Zemi games, again, Doom, maybe not your thing because it's ultra violent. It's ultra, I wouldn't really consider scary because it is cartoon-ish graphics. But just as a consumer, when you hear single player games as big as Doom releasing, how does that? What are your thought process about how ID Software and Bethesda is telling the fans, hey, guess what? Buy Doom Eternal, enjoy it, and we're going to have more content for you in year one. And obviously when they say year one, I'm assuming there's going to be a year two.
Yeah, I'm not a Doom fan. It's just not my cup of tea. But with that
Okay.
being said, just because I'm not a fan of it doesn't mean I can't appreciate it. The game does look solid. The shooting looks very smooth. The graphics in the game look really nice. That story that you were talking about sounds absolutely incredible. But it's just not my thing. I've never been a Doom person. I'm probably never going to try to play one of the games. That's just me. But as far as the content, them releasing 2 big DLCs like in like the first year, I think that is absolutely amazing. Hopefully they're fairly priced and there's a lot of content that goes in them. But I think it's going to do a lot to help the community coming back to the game long after launch.
Yeah, I like that. Like I said, I do like the fact that they're upfront and clear about, hey, listen, Doom's Eternal is going to have a great story. It's going to be a big game. You're going to enjoy it, but after you're done with it, don't go too far because we have 2 DLCs for you. But all right. Well, listen, thanks, Zemi, for that. I appreciate it very much. And of course, I have to talk to one of my favorite people on the panel, Gaming Forte. Obviously, again, working in GameStop, you see how these season passes go. Obviously, one of the most popular genres is multiplayer on every system. It doesn't matter whether you're on PC, it doesn't matter whether you're on Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo Switch. People really enjoy multiplayer games. Me, being an old school cat, I really look forward to and appreciate the hard work that goes into telling a proper single player campaign. And that especially with Bethesda games, you're going to get that strong story. You get it in Wolfenstein. You're going to get it you got it in Doom 2016. You're going to get it in Doom Eternal. But for you, as a fan of just gaming as a whole and as a consumer, does it excite you that they're still going to support this game well after its initial release and not just run to try and make a Doom 3?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a really good move. I think the thing about Doom, a lot of people enjoy the multiplayer, but they love the single player. Like,
of course they do.
Doom 2016 was an amazing single player game. It was so good. It was over too soon for me. I got through it and I was like, man, it's already over. It kind of reminds me about Titanfall 2. Is like I went through it and I was like, this is one of the best single player games I ever played in my life, and it was over. And I was like, dang, I wish I had more. And having this be a thing, especially with them supporting the single player side of it with the DLC or expansions, what they call it, is amazing. This game takes place on Earth this time around.
Yes,
so
it does. Yes.
It can literally, when they say expansions, that's a huge word to use, because when I think expansion, I'm thinking huge open environment, new areas to go to.
Could they go to a different city? Let's say
could they go exactly? Could it be in a different city? You know, you're talking about a whole new play space versus if they just say DLC, they could just be added story missions into the areas you already been to that are familiar to you. When they say expansion, that's a whole nother level for me. And I love multiplayer. I love it to death. But I will tell you, the older I've gotten, the less I play it. I play more single player in Destiny and PvE stuff than I do in multiplayer. And I still play a lot of multiplayer. But knowing that there is more for me to do in like just a confined narrative driven space that's linear or just has the ability for you to play how you want to play it, that is always going to be more welcome than just going into PvP and doing stuff like that. I just think you get more intimate with the content when you're doing that way. You have your own experiences that you draw from that you can share with other people. That was something that the BioShock games did really well. It made you, as you went through those single player DLCs, you got more invested in the story. Like I love Infinite Story, and I love the Burial Beyond the Burial at Sea DLC just because it expanded even more. Mass Effect had huge DLCs for Mass Effect 2 that led you into Mass Effect 3 that were, some of those DLCs were better than the freaking parts of the regular game.
Yeah, good point.
And that is the thing that I think this is actually like the subject line that they're going down. All the games I mentioned, those were amazing, breathtaking games, and they will always be a part of my gaming history. And I don't want to put that much pressure on this game because we haven't played it yet. But just knowing what Doom 2016 was and knowing the power and the prowess that's behind it, I am super excited to see exactly how this unfolds. And 2 of them in the calendar year, and it being season 1, lets me know that they have a long-term plan. And that's the one thing gamers want. When you buy a game on a platform, digitally or physically, you want to know that that game's going to be supported longer term. And that's what I think they're doing with this.
You know, one of the charms I like that I've seen in this, guys, is like there's still like one-up art things in the levels that you're playing, and like boosts. Like as much as it's telling a story and it's got a bunch of serious stuff, it's still so much video game and gameplay first before it's any of that other stuff. And that's what I appreciate about id Software and Doom.
Yeah, Slow-Mo is actually saying that Lair of the Shadow Broker and the Citadel's DLC were better than some of the whole game. Yeah,
they were.
They were fantastic.
If you ain't played Shadow Broker, it was one of the best ever.
I just want to say, I know I sort of agree with what Shady's saying. So the problem puts me off a bit with the single player games these days is so much is just put forward to cutscenes and less on gameplay. So I really hope they focus more on gameplay and less on cutscenes.
Yeah, well, I think they're shying away from that. I think it's all action all the time. You're gonna get in-game cutscenes. That's not gonna kind of like drop it into neutral for 15 minutes while you watch it.
Now, if it's anything like the last Doom, my God, your heart could potentially fail. Like it's so adrenaline fueled, man. It's in your face. The last Doom, my God. So it keeps up that pace.
Yeah, sort of like the gear. It's sort of the gears were a bit like that, if I recall. Sort of they just throw you into a brief sort of cutscene just to set you up for the next scene.
Yeah.
But when you're watching 10, 15 minutes, even 20 minutes of a cutscene, and then there's like overall there's about 5 or 6 hours of that, you're thinking, oh wow, really?
Yeah,
I agree.
Well,
I play games to play games, not watch movies myself.
Exactly,
but that's just me. Yeah. There are people that feel the other way. They like that interactive experience, and there's enough gamers that we can have games for everybody. I like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But listen, you know what? We're at the 2-hour mark, and I do have one. I know 2 hours went by so quickly. It's
so
ridiculous. I have one last topic I want to talk about for a couple of reasons. One, we have a lot of fans on this panel that are Star Wars fans. I found this story and I added it late because Shady and I were talking the other day when we had the top 20 games of E3, and he had made mention of how EA and Respawn showed off Star Wars Jedi The Fallen Order and how it was misconstrued as it being a very small, tight-knit game. What was crazy in this story is that they're claiming that the game is closer to Metroid Prime than the E3 demo implied during the showing at EA Play, which I saw behind closed doors. I was able to get into that event, and I got my press seat because of the channel, and I got into the private showing. And like Shady was saying, it has really there's been a lot of confusion on what this game actually is. Now, in this story, I happened to pull from the pages of Game Rant, one of my favorite sites to actually pull the stories for these shows. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order had its big coming out party at this year's E3, and the overall reception was somewhat mixed. While the live demo showed off part of at EA Play, it wasn't really bad, but it seemed many people walked away and felt underwhelmed with what they saw. And again, I got a chance to see behind closed doors something different, and it really told a different story for me. So when I saw this, I had to talk about this today. As Game Rant is reporting, several journalists who were at E3 and have talked about their impressions of getting to play the full demo. They're like, especially like with Giant Bomb, the Giant Bomb podcast and the Giant Beast cast, they were saying that the game played more like a Metrovania or Metroid Prime style of game than what they showed on the screen. So, of course, Shady, I want to go to you first on this because you were really like laying in this point the last time we talked about it. Are you happy to know that the game is going to be much bigger than what they depicted on the screen?
Yeah, I am, man. Like when the reveal of the game, the Star Wars fanatic in me was excited for just any more Star Wars story, hopefully good Star Wars story as well. But the hardcore gamer in me was just not feeling it, man. It was too linear for me. It looked too basic. Everything was too slow, from the stormtroopers running to the blasters you were deflecting. I'm kind of like, my God, this is run of the mill hack and slash on the most linear path I've ever seen. Like, I was just very underwhelmed. And then, like you said, people that have seen it behind the scenes, gotten hands-on, some of these sites more so since E3 are telling a totally different story. This is a massive Metroidvania. You have your own spaceship. You get to pick which planets you go to in whatever order. As your Jedi levels up, your Padawan levels up and stuff, or you acquire new equipment, you'll be able to go back to areas previously explored and open up new stuff. Like, that sounds fantastic. They're describing the combat mechanics, and what's going to happen is being like no two playthroughs apparently will be alike. Like it's way more behind the scenes details that I would have rather seen up front, as opposed to that dragged out 10-minute linear gameplay we got exposed to. I'm going to use those terms here. Like, I really thought that just the little quick gameplay trailer that Xbox had at their E3 showed the game better and got me more hype for it than that long gameplay did. So I'm glad to hear that it is way more than what we've seen, and it's way more in the areas that I enjoy. So my hype levels are back up. I'm glad that it's this year. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, and according to Giant Bomb, there were several ways to tackle the same level. So you may go at a different direction than I'm going. You may go lightsabers and blasters all in, and I might go the sneaking way, which I find to be interesting. But you know what? They weren't the only journalists talking about this. We're talking about from Kotaku all the way through Waypoint. They've commented on how open the game feels compared to its constrained demo that the public was shown. And I'm not actually sure why they decided to do that. But Elite Gaming Guru, I'm not sure what your opinion is on what the demo. I mean, I enjoyed the demo. I enjoyed the public demo, and I enjoyed, of course, the private demo certainly a lot more. But are you happy to know that the game is going to be a heck of a lot more open than it seemed to be?
Oh yes, definitely. Because what I like about the game is the Battlefield games are good anyway. I like the Battlefield games. Battlefield. what am I calling Battlefront games, the Star Wars games, but it reminds me more of the Force Unleashed.
Yes.
And I do sort of favour those style of games, that kind of games. So I'm seeing it sort of more of a Force Unleashed open world, and it looks fantastic. I'm loving all the combat. Yeah, I'm really enjoying. I'm really hyped for this game, much more than I was in the past Battlefront games. And yeah, as you said, it's much more sort of customization and sort of skill trees and stuff. You can sort of use the blade, use the sword more, or the gun more, and I'm really quite hyped for this. Is it released? Sorry, I missed it. Is it released this year?
Yeah, it's releasing this year in the fall.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, right. Is there another Star Wars movie out this year?
Yes, episode 9 comes out in December.
Oh, it's
I
sort
think
of
it's
time, isn't it?
Christmas, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's definitely gonna be a day one purchase for me, with all the other massive games that are coming out towards the end of this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it's Respawn. I love the way they tell stories. It's Vince
Yeah.
Zampella. We talked about him, of how Call of Duty changed because he left. We saw what happened. I know Gaming Forte mentioned that about the Titanfall 2 single-player campaign, which is probably one of the best single-player campaigns this generation. No doubt
Yeah.
about that.
My only
But-
worry about Titanfall 2, sorry, my only thing about Titanfall 2 was that the PvP wasn't as good as the first one.
Yeah, that is
But the
that is for
campaign
sure.
was outstanding. The way you and the Titan just got on and sort of it's just a fantastic. The way he just picked you up and just lobbed you. That just
Yeah.
brilliant. That was the campaign for Titanfall 2 was a really underrated campaign. I think it's a shame.
Yeah, well, because Respawn is handling the deal, I have a good feeling that this is going to be great. Zemi, though, I have to go to you because I know for a fact that since E3, you have been chomping at the bit to talk about Star Wars, but more specifically this game. And when you personally hear the words Metroid Prime, which is considered and revered as one of Nintendo's biggest classics, and you mentioned Star Wars, we know what we're getting. We know the character. We know the sub characters. We know the stormtroopers. We know the tropes of Star Wars. But when you hear that this game is going to be more open and bigger than what was depicted on the screen, how excited are you as a fan?
You know, I am very excited to hear that. But I also do want them to balance the game out. You know, I mean, because typically whenever you get into a massive open world game, the narrative isn't nearly as strong as you would get in like a linear game. So I would love to see like a very fine balance between the two. That way you can still have the open world aspect of the game, giving freedom to the player to be able to go to where you want and then backtrack and come back to planets that you've already been to. I mean, that sounds absolutely amazing. But, you know, with like main story missions, you know, I would still like there to be a little bit more of a linear approach to that. Having multiple, you know, paths that you can take to, you know, end in different results is fine. But I do definitely want some linear aspects into the game.
It is,
well,
dude.
because
Like,
I do think
it's not an open world. It's a sandbox.
yeah.
Again, like Tomb Raider, it'll be sandboxy, not open world.
Yeah. Because my biggest thing for this game is I just want it to have a absolutely strong narrative story to it, because that's why I love Star Wars. You know, I don't like Star Wars just so I can sling around a lightsaber. However, that is really cool. I like it because, you know, it has a very, very strong narrative, characters that I care about, and I definitely want that to be the main focus on the game, personally myself. My only concern about the game is DLC and microtransactions. I really hope that EA has learned from their past and they decide to not go super big into microtransactions. But as far as the open world like feature of the game, I think that sounds fantastic. Being able to customize your character, having different paths that you can take, choosing to do this mission before doing this other mission, being able to travel around to different planets, that all just sounds fantastic.
There's no loot boxes confirmed, but I could easily see there being like different skins for your Padawan or lightsaber colors or the little droid on his back, stuff like that. I could see that being for sale for sure. And I don't think they've confirmed or denied any expansions for it at all.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything regarding DLC. I would like to believe, because I know that they within the if you remember the Force Unleashed, both of them had DLC that extended the story. Some were good and some were forgettable, but I'd like to believe that there's going to be some sort of an extension to the story, or because, you know, we don't know how long the story is going to be. Is it 6 hours? Is it 9 hours? Is it 17 hours? I don't know. But I would like to hope that there's going to be some sort of DLC plan, and it's not, you know, gross, because it is EA.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
But real cool, Zemi. I'm glad that you're excited for it. I'm also glad that you want it to be what we know Star Wars to be, in a grounded, you know, true grit kind of story. That's why I enjoy Star Wars. Something that my games definitely, like I said, like you were saying, slinging a lightsaber around, throwing it around, force powers. That's great, but at the end of the day, it really is about the story and the characters that you meet within the Star Wars universe. And Gaming Forte, I want to get your opinion on this. You know, obviously, this was, I mean, it kind of really baffles my mind when you think about how the game was shown off, and then what you're hearing from journalists is that, well, that's not actually how the game is. It's better than that. I really wish Respawn would have done it the way that Shady and I had been talking about. But in your opinion, are you happy to know that the game is going to be kind of like Metroid Prime, where it's going to be that, you know, sandbox, but, you know, not just a corridor type of small, kill these 3 stormtroopers, get to the next level, and move on?
No, I'm ecstatic that is actually a thing. I didn't think that was going to be the case anyways when it came to the way that they showed it off. I know they just wanted to show a vertical slice of the game. I knew there was a little bit more depth to that game by just looking at the gameplay, knowing just the type of game that it is. The gameplay looks more intimate than anything when it comes to the way that you go into battle, and that kind of is portrayed inside of the demo they did show at E3, but I knew there was more to that than just what they showed, because you really don't want to go into the bigger scale of what the game actually really is this probably soon, because they do want to drum up some hype over the next couple of months until it actually releases. But just hearing you guys get a chance to play it did kind of reaffirm how I was actually feeling the game was going to be, because I think we're pretty much moving away from this whole corridor, you know, go down this one lane, turn this one corner, this is the only way you can go type game anymore. And it would have been super disappointing if this game was that. And my fears were completely wrong, because I didn't think this game was going to be that in the beginning. If it ended up being that way, I would have been disappointed. So I think people are going to probably be a little bit more relieved that they're going to get more of an open game, like you say, not open world, but just an open sandbox that they can play into. It would be nice to see if there's just different places you can travel to. If there's going to be like a traveling system where you can.
I believe that you have your own ship.
Yeah, and that's why could you have a ship, but you know, what is the purpose of the ship? Is it just to change out your gear, or can you actually use that ship to go to other places? You know, usually games like to use vehicles like that to basically hide stuff from the player that they don't want them to see, like loading screens and stuff like that. Shot at you, Destiny, right now. But but seriously, if they're making this as vast as we think they can make it, this is something that Star Wars needs. You know, the fandom is still there. I love Star Wars. It's one of my favorite, you know, franchises of all time. And I have 15 lightsabers, you know, different colors. I collected them. I collected them over the course of literally like 20 years. And
nice.
And up until like the last 5, I used to buy them every year. Now I buy them every other year just because it's getting pretty ridiculous. And it is getting, my wife actually mentioned it to me, said, this is ridiculous. You getting multiples of ones you already have just because it's a newer style. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry.
When are you going to Galaxy's Edge to build your own, huh?
I am going to do, no, brother, as soon as it becomes affordable to go to Galaxy's Edge, I'm going, because it's
never going to be affordable.
It's never going to, exactly. So I'm just going to end up having to pony up that money and going and build a lightsaber there, because that's what I definitely want to do. That's probably going to be a bucket list thing.
Well, I think the game sounds great, because it does, as you're saying, because you get a spaceship and travel about. It sounds sort of almost like Mass Effect.
Exactly. Well, and if the game is that, I'm going to be even more excited.
I'm even more excited. Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a good thing. I think I try not to overhype myself when it comes to Star Wars anymore, just because movies have disappointed me over the last couple of years. As much as I liked Star Wars Battlefront 2, it still had a lot to desire. I mean, the whole microtransaction thing kind of tore that game down. I enjoyed the single player. I enjoyed the DLC. They did give us all free DLC in that game when it was all said and done. Hopefully this game does, some similars of the same thing, at least around the microtransaction side, and give you ways to earn the stuff in game without you having to pay for it probably. But this is EA, so that's probably asking for too much. But ultimately the game, I think, is going to be amazing. Vince has already bucked the trend on a couple of things when it came to making sure this game is not ran under the Frostbite engine, is running on its own, the Unreal engine. So I think that's a really good thing. So we know that they aren't beating to the drum of what EA wants them to do. They're making the game they want to do. And I think that's a really good thing. And I'm super excited just hearing you guys talk about the things that you got a chance to enjoy when you were there to see it.
Yeah. Like I said, I think
as well. I want to see X-Wing. The X-Wing pilot game in those games.
Yes. Oh, I do remember that. Yeah,
I remember X-Wing. Yes, I certainly do.
Such a good game.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get any spaceship flying. They haven't said. I don't want them to kind of. I want to be surprised. The one thing I will say, if they can throw something in there like that, that will be on that Halo Reach level for me. Remember when we first played Halo Reach and we went to space for the first time?
Mm-hmm.
That did not get leaked. No one knew it was in the game until they got there. And we were like, oh my God, we finally went to space in Halo. This is freaking incredible.
And we're flying around dogfighting in space.
And dogfighting in Covenants and taking down Covenant destroyers. It was amazing. So
they should have had a multiplayer mode of that. And
everybody said they should have had one of it.
Agree.
Well, even if they made it like that, Game Pass title at the moment, Everlast. Even if they make it like that.
That's really good.
That is really good. I like Everlast.
Oh, sure, that is.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Make it like that. It doesn't have to be complex fighter. It doesn't have to be complex, sure.
No, we haven't had a good dogfight game in a long time. I don't know if we're going to get one, but Star Wars would be a good way to start for sure. Love to see them bring back, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. But who the heck knows? Listen, I'm going to say this. This has been one hell of an episode. We're closing in on 2.5 hours. I want to thank the entire chat for being here. You guys rock. You power the show. And I appreciate the banter that was done. Even though people had different opinions, everyone respected each other. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to this community. I want to thank the super chats that were given. Your donations are greatly appreciated. I have to, of course, thank my entire panel for being awesome and hanging out for almost 2.5 hours. So let's get into the outros. And I'll start with So Shady. Dude, like I say all the time, you are a gamer who enjoys talking about them, and you are on quite a few shows. I know I saw someone in the chat said they're going to be subscribing to your channel, and you talked about content eventually coming to that, and I think you should do some content on your channel, even if it's just videos. You do have a great voice, you do have a great opinion, and I think you're going to do very well in the YouTube streets. Please tell everyone they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check you out on all the different shows that you are guest appearing on.
Yeah, thanks, Boom, for all the kind words and providing me a platform to come and share my passion for video games with both your audience and yourself and our guests every week. I just love it. I'm here every single Friday morning, Breakfast with Boom. I also do Wednesday morning show with you. That is Gaming News at noon with Shady and Boom. And it's just the two of us. Every now and then we'll pull someone else on, but we have a good time. And then later on Wednesday nights, I do Xbox Nation with the one and only Crap Gamer. If you haven't, check out this last Wednesday's show. My God, the energy levels were over the top. I had to lay some things straight, man. Say it how it is. Exclusives, they're just not as important as some people think that they are. Give it a listen, man. It was something, I'll say that. But I am So Shady on Twitter at the Sesh Empire. That's only one word. Maybe give me a follow, become an agent. I'm only 4 away from hitting the 1,000 mark, which is pretty mind-blowing. Yeah, man, I've only been in the community for just a little bit over the year. So I think that's pretty awesome. It's overwhelmingly, it's out of nowhere. I think it's really, really cool that people would choose to follow me and interact with me on any social media and stuff. So thank you, everybody. Like I said, only 4 away. Who's going to be the 1,000th agent? We'll make you a special agent instantly. Instant upgrade. But again, happy gaming, everyone. Take it easy.
Nice. Well, listen, let's if you're in the chat and you haven't subbed to him, Just check out his YouTube channel. Content is coming, but you know what? You can easily just hit the follow button. Let's get him to that 1,000. Let's make this Friday be a special remembering kind of a day for So Shady. He deserves it. He's a hardworking dude. And of course, speaking of hardworking dudes, I have to go to Zemi Games, the other regular panel member for Breakfast with Boom. I want to thank you for being here, dude. Love your insight. Love your honesty when it comes, of course, to the scary games. It is always really funny to talk to you about that. Please tell everyone where they should follow you on Twitter, because we got to get those Twitter numbers up, and check out not your one, but 2 YouTube channels you have running.
Absolutely, Boom, and thank you so much. So if you guys want to, you can follow me on Twitter at Zimmy Games. You can also follow me on YouTube with the name Zimmy Games as well. And then I'm also launching a brand new YouTube channel where it's not really gaming related news or anything like that. It's more or less just like conspiracies and ghost stories and stuff like that. So if you want to follow that new channel, you can do so just by searching for The Strange. Boom, it was a fantastic podcast today. Really enjoyed all the topics. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, glad to have you here as always. And again, I had to get that Star Wars in there because I know you've been dying to talk about it, and I'm glad that you did. Gaming Forte, the one of the wheels that keep the gaming podcast that you're on, which of course is Brap with the amazing Slow-Mo, Enrique, and the rest of the crew. Love what you do within the community. Love what you do on your YouTube channel, and love what you do on Brap more specifically. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, which they should, because you do great videos there too as well. And check out your outstanding YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, as always, I really appreciate the invite. As always, I'm always available when you need me. And yeah, it's Gaming Forte, gaming_Forte on Twitter. Gaming Forte, just search that in YouTube. Really appreciate anybody that likes and follows and does anything for the channel. Definitely check us out on Brap every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. You know, myself, E, Slow-Mo, Enrique. We always have a ball over there. You know, we try to keep the fanboy stuff out of it, just talk about the news as it is, and, you know, just give our honest opinions on stuff like that. If you want to check me and Slow-Mo out, check us out on the Iron Lord podcast. We are making our debut with the Lords of the Round Table this Sunday at 1 p.m. I am super excited for that. You know, Lord Cognito and King and all them guys, I look up to them guys just like I look up to Boom. So being a chance to kick it with them and pick their brains about E3 like I did with Boom on Breakfast on Brap the other day. Looking forward to that. So check us out over there. Love to see you guys there to see even more support.
Yeah, well, listen, it's great to have you on as always. Love having you on the show, and I think that this Sunday you guys are going to be in for a real treat, simply because King should be doing comedy stand-up. The guy is hilarious, and he always brings it each and every Sunday. So go check out these guys on the Iron Lords podcast this Sunday. I believe it's at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, last but certainly not least, the elite gaming guru, who has on occasion ruffled certain people's feathers when it comes to his opinions regarding Xbox on Twitter. But we still love to have you on the show, dude. I love that you're honest, that you're forthcoming about being an Xbox fan, and you are not afraid to tell people about it. Please tell everyone where they can check out your YouTube channel, which I think is fantastic. But more importantly, follow you on Twitter, dude.
Right, yes, I'm on Twitter and YouTube, as you can find me on both on here. If you go into my YouTube, it's got all my links and everything. But more importantly, I want to plug my website. I'm a founder of a website called bg4ghub.com. It's a gaming website which covers everything from reviews, and it goes into very good detail on the reviews, and it shows gameplay and everything. So, and it's got a proper scoring system. So, reviews, gaming news, tech information. It's even got links to things like these podcasts, Boom, on there. So
yes.
Yeah, we've got. So if you want to catch up on Boom's podcast, go to a website and you can find them all there, and it can link straight back into his channel. So yeah, please check out the website.
Yeah, the website's fantastic. They're doing a lot of big things over there, and they're promoting many other podcasts within the community
Yeah,
because, you
we're
know,
trying to promote YouTubers of all types as well. And it's not just Xbox; it's PS4 and Nintendo,
everybody.
PC.
Yes.
We cover all gaming. The previews and everything are for all gaming. It's a gaming website.
I love that you say that. It's a gaming website.
Yeah.
It's not promoted just to one brand. Everyone is included. Everyone is welcome. So yes, go check out that website. The link is going to be in, of course, the show notes to everyone. Subscribe, hang out, talk with. But yeah, this has been a great episode. I want to thank again the chat for being here. We'll be back next week on our regular schedule. Episodes of Gaming News at noon on Wednesday, the Xbox Factor podcast on Thursday, and of course, back here again, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom. I want to wish my panel a fantastic weekend. Enjoy gaming. Treat people how you want to be treated. And guess what, folks? It doesn't cost anything to be nice. So just do that. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.